Chapter 650. Asuna averted her gaze from the beautiful scenery outside the window and looked at Wu Yan, who was sitting on the sofa in casual clothes. She pursed her lips and sat across from him. She stared at Wu Yan with her chestnut-colored eyes. Wu Yan raised his cup uncomfortably under Asuna's scrutinizing gaze. He took a sip of his homemade black tea and looked around. Asuna couldn't help but chuckle. Asuna stretched her body and leaned back on the sofa as if a heavy burden had been lifted off her shoulders. "Oh, so you're not a loner after all, loner?" Wu Yan paused his hand and looked at Asuna with a strange expression. "I'm curious how you came to that conclusion." Asuna rolled her eyes and scolded. "The first time we met, you didn't even exchange a few words before walking away. After the boss cleared the first floor, you left a cookbook and everyone else behind and walked away on your own as well. For the past year, you've been traveling alone. Don't you think you're a loner?" "Huh?" Wu Yan choked and retorted. "That's not a loner, right? It's normal for people to not talk much when they meet for the first time. It's not like they know each other that well. It's already very nice of him to give her a cookbook. As for loners, I'm not the only loner. That's why they are known as loners." Asuna pointed at Wu Yan with a firm tone. "You're the same." Hey, don't make it sound like I'm a loner," Wu Yan said with a bit of dissatisfaction. "I've dealt with people before, okay? Then please tell me." Asuna puffed up her chest and went straight to the bullseye. "Have you dealt with more than 10 people?" "Huh?" Wu Yan raised an eyebrow and looked at Asuna with a bit of uncertainty. "How do you know there aren't 10 people?" "By guessing?" "That's right." Asuna blinked. "It's just a guess." "Did I say anything wrong, haha?" Wu Yan laughed dryly, then sighed and said awkwardly, "What's wrong with that?" Seeing Wu Yan's compromising look, Asuna smiled triumphantly, turned her head, and looked out the window. "However, now, my impression of you has changed. Thank you so much." Wu Yan rolled his eyes at Asuna. Asuna placed a teacup in front of her and poured a cup of black tea into it. She didn't hold back and drank from the cup. Then, he closed his eyes in satisfaction and looked at the black tea in the cup with joy. "It smells so good." Asuna leaned her head closer to Wu Yan. "What is it made of?" "Leaves from mangrove trees, and some juice from tricolored flowers." Asuna's cup was once again filled with black tea. "If you like it, you can take some back later and I can give you the recipe." Asuna quickly nodded as if she was afraid Wu Yan would change his mind. She drank another cup of black tea and said with emotion, "I thought you were a loner. I didn't expect you to know how to enjoy life, of course." Wu Yan looked out the window and said, "Only when I'm at home. That's when I feel like I'm alive." Asuna was stunned. Then, she went silent. "Feeling alive," Asuna murmured with an unknown emotion. She glanced at Wu Yan with a complicated look in her eyes. For a long time, her priority was to conquer Asuna, and this was the first time she felt something like this. She felt like she was alive. So, this person in front of her has been living in this world for a long time, and he's much happier than she is. Wu Yan sensed the change in Asuna's mood and the atmosphere became heavy. He scratched his cheek and changed the topic. "Well, it's about time to start." Wu Yan stood up from the sofa and looked directly at Asuna's face. Asuna's gloomy mood instantly disappeared, and her spirits were lifted. She stood up and raised her head with high fighting spirit. "Ha! Come at me. You're full of confidence." Wu Yan shook his head and walked to the kitchen. "I hope you'll still have this fighting spirit later." "Fighting spirit? I'll always have it." After entering the kitchen, Wu Yan glanced at Asuna, who has changed into casual clothes and an apron. He swiped his hand across the air and opened his personal interface. He tapped a few times and ingredients appeared on the table out of thin air. There's meat, vegetables, seasonings, and so on. There's a wide variety of ingredients, and it's not any less than what you would find in a restaurant. Asuna was stunned. She shrieked when she saw the shiny ingredients on the table. Wu Yan jumped in fright when he saw her. What are you doing? These. Asuna's hand trembled as she picked up one of the plates. She was flattered. These ingredients, aren't they all rare ingredients? Oh. You're making a fuss because of this? Wu Yan glared at Asuna. What's there to be surprised about? It's not like these are OP equipment or weapons, they're just ingredients. You. Asuna turned her head around and gritted her teeth. These ingredients are as expensive as high-level equipment. Do you know that? I know. Wu Yan said, but he didn't seem to care. I didn't buy these ingredients, I got them myself. What's there to be surprised about? All of them. Asuna was shocked. She pursed her lips as if she couldn't accept the truth. Really? Why don't I have such good luck? You must have cheated somehow. If that's the case, then I'll just get S-rank rare ingredients. Wu Yan shook his head and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I've been hunting for ingredients for so long, but I've never gotten an S-grade ingredient. Asuna rolled her eyes at Wu Yan and snorted. I don't know if anyone in SAO got an S-rank ingredient. If you got one, then you're cheating. What are you talking about? Wu Yan turned his head away. I'll get one sooner or later anyway. I'm looking forward to it. Asuna didn't take Wu Yan's words seriously. Wu Yan took out a kitchen knife from his inventory and pointed it at Asuna. Okay, I'll pay for today's ingredients. You can choose what you want, really? Asuna excitedly took out a kitchen knife and looked at the ingredients eagerly. I've never cooked with such precious ingredients before. After today's meal, I'm sure my cooking proficiency will increase a lot. Then you'll have to thank me. Yes. The two of them looked at each other and smiled. Then, they began to attack. The cooking process in SAO was very simplified, and it didn't take much time to cook a meal. For example, all you needed to do was to touch the ingredients with a kitchen knife, and the ingredients would be cut automatically. You didn't need to control the heat at all because the kitchen utensils here had a timer function. All you needed to do was to set the timer in advance. This kind of cooking process would lose control of knife skills, heat control and the like. The taste would drop by a few levels, but it wouldn't drop by too much. At the very least, using Wu Yan as an example, with his current cooking proficiency, he would be able to perform at least half of his real-world level. Asuna is also very talented in cooking. You can't see the difference in the knife and the temperature in SAO, but she's very good at choosing ingredients, seasoning, and so on. The entire cooking process is smooth. Her proficiency is comparable to Wu Yan's. She has the demeanor of a chef. The two's figures constantly overlapped in the kitchen. They were busy working together, and they looked like a warm family. They looked like husband and wife. The two didn't notice this at all. Wonderful brush pavilion, no pop-up window, quick update, remember. Chapter 651. On the dining table in the hall, delicious-smelling dishes were placed one after another, covering the entire table. At a glance, the saliva-inducing light smoke filled the entire hall. Even though the smoke was emitted from the windows, it would soon be replaced by new smoke. Anyone who saw this scene would definitely drool and have a great appetite. They didn't even look at the dishes on the table, they just stared at each other. Electric currents flashed through their eyes as they stared at each other. It was as if a storm was brewing. Those who didn't know what was going on would think that these two had some kind of grudge against each other. At some point, the two of them spoke at the same time. 12. 9. The two numbers came out of their mouths at the same time, and when the other person heard it, their expressions changed. Wu Yan smiled proudly, while Asuna's face was filled with unwillingness. Humph. Asuna snorted and said, the number of dishes isn't the deciding factor, the most important thing is the taste of the dishes. You can't say that. Wu Yan of course wouldn't let Asuna erase his victory so easily. Sometimes, the number of dishes is also very important. If it can't satisfy the other person's stomach, then it's useless no matter how good it is. Cooking exists for the sake of filling one's stomach. You just cooked 3 more dishes than me, what's the big deal? At least this proves that I beat you. No way. The deciding factor is the taste of the dishes. Then I'll count it as my victory. You bastard, I'll definitely be the winner later. Wrong. If I can beat you once, then I can beat you twice. I won't let you continue being so arrogant. Oh. Is that so? You'll admit defeat later. After a round of verbal sparring, the two of them no longer only had electric currents colliding, even the background was covered in flames. A volcano rose between them and erupted, indicating the intensity of the battle between Wu Yan and Asuna. In that case, Asuna placed her 9 dishes in front of Wu Yan. His gaze was fixed on Wu Yan. Let me say this first. You must give a fair evaluation. If you have personal feelings, I will be angry. Wu Yan rolled his eyes. Do I look like such an unreasonable person? Caesar. Who knew? He threw out a sentence that was neither painful nor itchy. Asuna handed the cutlery to Wu Yan. Wu Yan took it and sat down, looking at the fragrant 9 dishes in front of him. At least from the looks of it, Asuna's cooking was very attractive. Using his knife and fork, Wu Yan picked up a piece of meat that was dripping with a tempting sauce. He glanced at it and put it into his mouth. Then, he closed his eyes and began to chew seriously. On the other side, Asuna's expression showed a hint of nervousness, which surprised her. What was she nervous about? Could it be that she was worried about his opinion? No. That's impossible. I'm just nervous about the result. Yes, that's right, Wu Yan didn't know about Asuna's inner turmoil. He swallowed the food in his mouth and opened his eyes. He looked at the dish with a surprised expression. How is it? Asuna stuttered and held her breath. She didn't know if she was anxious or nervous. It's surprisingly delicious, really? Asuna's face lit up with a smile. She sighed in relief. This inexplicable feeling scared her. She cursed in her heart for a moment before she calmed down. Wu Yan tasted Asuna's dish again. He praised while eating. This tastes good. The sauce is also very good. What is it made of? Me, Asuna giggled and said in a mischievous manner, I made it myself, and it's the only place you can eat it. No one else has ever eaten it except for you, so what do you think? Aren't you honored? How is it? Yes. Wu Yan brushed her off in an annoyed manner before he started tasting the other dishes. Well, it's really good. Of course, the ingredients are also good, it's a rare ingredient after all. There's a certain level of foundation to it. Plus, it's specially made, so the taste is a lot better. Asuna didn't deny it. After all, rare ingredients were very precious. She rarely used rare ingredients in her cooking, and even if she did, it was very limited. Not to mention, all of her dishes were made with rare ingredients, which was unimaginable in the past. Sitting across from Wu Yan, Asuna watched as Wu Yan tasted her dishes. Her expression softened. She rested her chin on one hand and smiled. Her heart melted as she watched Wu Yan eat. It didn't take long for Asuna's 9 dishes to be eaten by Wu Yan. The smile on Asuna's face grew wider and wider. She couldn't hide her joy. How is it? My dish. Asuna raised an eyebrow and hooked her finger at Wu Yan provocatively. It's not personal, Wu Yan closed his eyes and pondered for a moment. 90 points. Huh? Asuna puffed up her cheeks. How come it's only 90 points? It's fine. Those with culinary skills tend to have high standards. The higher the cooking skill, the higher the standards. Wu Yan leaned to the side and he continued, 90 points is already not bad. Asuna turned her head and muttered. At least you have a reason, the conditions are the same. Aren't you a chef too? Wu Yan shook his head and chuckled. Ma, now it's my turn. Wu Yan stood up and cleaned up his empty plate before placing his dishes on the table. He said this while placing his plate down. I feel like I'm at a disadvantage. It's a bit cold, the taste will definitely drop, it's still steaming. Asuna smiled. If it's not completely cold, the taste won't fade much. I don't care, I'm confident I can beat you even if it's cold. You're just bragging. Wu Yan's words became more and more hollow as he placed his dishes on the table. In the end, Asuna didn't say anything because she didn't have time to talk. She focused all of her attention on the dishes in front of her. Placed in front of Asuna were 12 dishes that could be called works of art. They were placed on a very ordinary plate, but the dishes weren't as simple as the ones on the plate. Instead, they were arranged into exquisite patterns, as if they were engraved on the plate. It was a stunning sight to behold. Wisps of steam rose from the exquisite combination of dishes. The rich aroma coupled with the visual impact of the dishes made Asuna's mouth water. If she were to try the taste as well, Wu Yan's lips curved up when he saw Asuna staring at the dishes. What's wrong? You admit defeat? Asuna was startled, and when she came back to her senses, she blushed and turned her head away. I won't admit defeat. It's just a little prettier, the important thing is. I know the taste. Wu Yan grinned. Then why don't you try it, Vice Leader? Fine, I'll try it. As if in a fit of pique, Asuna picked up a piece of delicious meat with her fork and put it in her mouth. Asuna's eyes widened as soon as she took a bite. Wu Yan snickered with confidence. What do you think? Are you convinced? No. I'm not. Asuna tried to hold back her tears. Don't forget. Wu Yan interrupted her and looked straight into Asuna's eyes. You don't have personal feelings, you. Asuna whimpered. She looked at Wu Yan with teary eyes. She swallowed another piece of meat and she whimpered unwillingly. 100 points, the winner was decided. Wonderful brush pavilion, no pop-up window, quick update, remember. Chapter 652. In the end, the winner of the cooking competition was Wu Yan, the cheater with the cooking expert ability. She turned her anger into appetite and she gobbled up all 12 dishes Wu Yan put on the table. She ate until she collapsed on the sofa and couldn't stand up anymore. She's like a child. Wu Yan found this funny and annoying at the same time. He didn't know what to say but he could only sigh in his heart. You're a foodie, Asuna wanted to refute, but the words that came out of her mouth turned into a painful moan. She collapsed on the sofa again. Wu Yan smiled bitterly. If you can't eat that much, why force yourself? Wu Yan sighed. You won't die from overeating in SAO, but you can't hide the feeling of overeating. Aren't you afraid that you'll feel uncomfortable? I just can't accept it. Asuna raised her hand and snorted. I can't believe I lost to a man in a cooking competition, oh? Surprisingly, you're a housewife. Wu Yan smiled. Looks like you're a married woman, Asuna glared at Wu Yan and sat up. Wu Yan helplessly shook his head when he saw how tired she looked. He poured a cup of black tea and pushed it in front of Asuna. Have some black tea, it should help with digestion, Asuna frowned. Her stomach was so full that she didn't want to stuff any more food into her stomach. However, she still raised the cup in front of her and took a sip. At this time, the sky outside the window gradually dimmed, and night began to fall. From afar, the blue sky slowly faded away and was replaced by dusk. Looking out the window, the shadows of the trees in the forest are elongating. The lake's surface is changing color. Little dots of light reflected off the surface of the lake, moving up and down with the ripples of the water. Some dots of light flickered from time to time. The lake looked like it's late in the evening. It made people's thoughts wander. Wu Yan and Asuna sat opposite each other on the sofa. Both of them didn't speak, they turned their heads to the window and watched the scenery outside slowly change. They were immersed in the scenery, enjoying this rare moment of tranquility. Neither of them broke the silence. The evening sun shone on their faces, illuminating their expressions. Gradually, the black tea is getting less and less, the dusk is fading away. Not long after, the curtain of night finally fell completely. The forest is quiet at night. The lake is still rippling, but the fluorescent light on the surface of the lake is enough to calm one's mind. Alcrad's night is also filled with stars, it's like the Milky Way. It's a beautiful scene. Unfortunately, there's no moon. Asuna's eyes flickered as she looked up at the night sky. She held the cup of black tea in her hand, but she didn't drink it. After a long time, Asuna finally spoke. "Thank you for today." Wu Yan calmed down when he heard Asuna's voice. He smiled helplessly at Asuna. "You've been thanking me all day, Vice Leader, just call me Asuna." Asuna rolled her eyes at Wu Yan and said with a complicated tone. "It's been a long time since I've been so fulfilled. Wu Yan poured a cup of black tea and asked. "Aren't you known as the ghost of strategy? You've been on the front lines, isn't that fulfilling?" "That's that kind of life." Asuna lowered her head, hiding her expression in the shadows. "It's not fulfilling at all, is that so?" Wu Yan glanced at Asuna and said. "I think it's okay." Asuna was stunned. She raised her head in surprise. She couldn't believe Wu Yan would say something like that. No matter what kind of life it is, it's still life. Wu Yan sighed and looked into Asuna's eyes. Forcing yourself to live is meaningless. You can only enjoy life when you face it. Enjoy? Asuna repeated the word with a mocking tone. How can this kind of life be considered enjoyment? That's why I said you're forcing yourself to live. Wu Yan looked at Asuna with a meaningful gaze. At least, this is the world we live in. Only people can adapt to the world will never adapt to people. I'm sure you understand that. Asuna opened her mouth. She mulled over it for a bit before looking at Wu Yan. Don't you hate this world? Hate. Wu Yan shook his head. I might be annoyed, but I'll never hate it. After all, even though this is an imaginary world, its beauty still exists. Wu Yan looked out of the window and said to Asuna. Asuna, can you really hate this kind of scenery? Asuna was silent. She held the cup in her hand tightly. Wu Yan smiled warmly and said. You haven't found your beauty yet. When you find your beauty, you'll realize that even though this world is cruel, you won't want to lose your life here. My beauty. Asuna couldn't help but ask. Can I find my beauty too? I think you'll have it sooner or later. Her voice sounded a little misty. Wu Yan shook his head and smiled. Actually, a girl's beauty is much easier to find than a boy's. For example, love. Asuna raised her head, the sadness on her face disappeared. She stared at Wu Yan with her eyes wide open. She raised her voice and blushed. She turned her head away shyly. Don't do that. Asuna pushed her hand away uncomfortably. Don't do that? Wu Yan tilted his head and he looked at Asuna with a confused look. What do you mean don't do that? Don't do that, don't you think it's too early to talk about love? Asuna sneaked a glance at Wu Yan. Strictly speaking, it's only been a day since we started talking, huh? Wu Yan didn't understand what she was trying to say. However, when he saw Asuna's dodgy eyes, he recalled what Asuna and himself said. Wu Yan's face turned red and he started blushing. Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. The sudden laughter startled Asuna. When she saw how Wu Yan is clutching his stomach while laughing, Asuna's anger flared up for some reason. What are you laughing at? Nothing. Ha ha ha. Wu Yan laughed until tears came out of his eyes. He waved his hand at Asuna with difficulty. Although he tried to control his laughter, it still reached Asuna's ears. Asuna was furious. She gritted her teeth when she saw Wu Yan laughing. She felt like she was a clown trying to please Wu Yan. She couldn't take it anymore. Asuna's voice trembled. She stood up and threw herself at Wu Yan. I'm going to bite you to death. Wu Yan was shocked when he saw Asuna throwing herself at him. He quickly stood up and wanted to do something, but Asuna already threw herself in front of him. She pinned him down on the sofa, grabbed his hand, and bit it. Ouch! What are you doing? Wu Yan screamed when he felt the pain on his arm. He started to shake his arm in panic. Are you a dog? Let go of me. Unfortunately, no matter how hard Wu Yan tried to shake his arm, Asuna didn't let go. Instead, she bit harder. Wu Yan's face twisted in pain. Let go of me, Asuna. Wu Yan cried. Sao doesn't block this type of attack, it hurts, let go of me. Asuna raised her head and looked at Wu Yan. Her chestnut-colored eyes flashed with a hint of cunning. Then, she bit him again. Ah, with a scream, Wu Yan's HP started to drop. To be continued. If you like this novel, you are welcome to vote for it. Your support is my biggest motivation. Mobile users, please go here. Wondrous Brush Pavilion, no pop-up window, quick update. Chapter 653. Aincrad's 55th floor, Granzam. Granzam is a bit different today compared to the usual. As a large city, Granzam was usually bustling with activity. Not only did the NPCs act in a fixed pattern every day, but the players were also active in various areas of the city, setting up stalls, completing quests, replenishing resources, and purchasing items. The bustling scene was on full display. But today, the bustling Granzam was even noisier than before. Not to mention the NPCs, even the players who had their own matters to attend to, such as setting up stalls and completing quests. Even the players who came out to purchase all sorts of items gave up on their original plans and headed in one direction. Their faces were filled with excitement and their eyes were filled with passion as though they were groupies. The direction they're heading towards is the Knights of the Blood's HQ, Knights of the Blood's HQ, the plaza outside the gates. All the gamers who had rushed over huddled close to each other and formed circles. Their heads were connected together, and pairs of arms were waving above their heads. Along with the clamor, cheers, and cheers, the scene was a mess. Look at the number of people. There's at least 1,000 of them. At the front of the circle of people were the Knights of Blood Oath members, who were wearing the same guild uniform and armor, forming a circle as well. They kept the people outside the circle and did not allow them to take even half a step into the lightning pool. In the center of the circle was a square with a diameter of about 100 meters. At the center of the square stood two figures. The players who saw the two figures couldn't help but shout out loud. Wu Yan. Heathcliff. The two stood facing each other. One black and one red figure stood out among the crowd. Their cloak and coat were fluttering in the wind. Who knows if it's because of the wind? Or maybe it's because of the crowd. They looked at each other from afar as if they're the only ones left in the world. Asuna stood in front of the Knights of the Blood's encirclement. She was gesturing at the Knights of the Blood's HQ members while saying something. It's obvious that she's the one who's maintaining order here. However, it seemed like Asuna was trying her best to maintain order at the scene. In fact, her chestnut-colored eyes that kept moving towards the center of the encirclement betrayed her heart. It's clear what she really cares about. Heathcliff looked around and shook his head when he saw the crowd around him. I'm sorry, Wu Yan, Kuan. I'm sure you don't like this kind of noisy scene, right? Even Heathcliff himself didn't know how the news of their duel got out. But, it's not hard to guess. After all, both Wu Yan and Heathcliff aren't ordinary people. One of them is the strongest player in the game. The other is the leader of the strongest guild in the game. No matter which side it is, they're both characters that most players look forward to. Now that two of them are about to duel each other, it's only natural that the crowd would go crazy. It's understandable that such a scene would happen. I don't like it. Wu Yan glanced around and said casually. But it's not the first time I've seen something like this, oh? Heathcliff narrowed his eyes and said thoughtfully. It seems like Wu Yan, Kuan has a special identity in the real world. I'm just a nobody. Wu Yan shrugged. Not worth mentioning, you're being too humble. Heathcliff smiled. If you're just a nobody, then there's no one in this world who's famous, you said it yourself. Wu Yan looked at Heathcliff with a half-smile. He couldn't help but laugh when he saw the disbelief on Heathcliff's face. Sometimes, people don't believe the truth. What can you do about it? Wu Yan is indeed a nobody in the real world of the sword and saber dominion. He doesn't even have an ID card. Heathcliff assumed that Wu Yan must be someone important in the real world. Of course, he wouldn't believe Wu Yan's words. After all, he was once afraid of Wu Yan's background in the real world. Heathcliff swiped his hand across the air and opened his personal interface. He immediately sent a request for a duel to Wu Yan. At the same time, a window appeared in front of Wu Yan. Wu Yan glanced at Heathcliff and clicked OK. He then chose the first strike mode. Under the first strike victory mode, as long as one party's HP bar dropped to yellow, it would be considered a loss. That party would only lose half of their HP and they would lose the duel. Between Wu Yan and Heathcliff, a countdown timer that looked like a fighting game appeared out of thin air. The countdown timer started ticking down slowly. Heathcliff's expression instantly became calm. He raised the shield in his left hand. There was a sword under the shield. The shield looked like a scabbard as Heathcliff slowly pulled it out. Wu Yan reached out and grabbed the hilt of Heaven Gazer. He silently pulled the sword out and pointed it at the ground. Compared to Heathcliff's calm expression, Wu Yan's expression was very calm. He even had a faint smile on his face. It was as if he wasn't facing a top player but a noob. Many people cheered for him. Of course, Wu Yan wasn't confident that he could face Heathcliff as if he was facing a noob. In fact, the situation was quite the opposite. He was the one who was at a disadvantage. Heathcliff's opponent wasn't an ordinary player. He was SAO's administrator, a GM. From a player's point of view, going against a GM is suicidal. Since when has a player ever defeated a GM? Even Wu Yan wouldn't dare to boast that he can beat Heathcliff, who has the authority of an administrator. But, it's not like he doesn't stand a chance. In order to hide his true identity in public, Heathcliff wouldn't dare to use his administrator's authority. First of all, he couldn't use functions that directly affect others, otherwise, his identity would be exposed. Secondly, he couldn't use invincibility functions either. Otherwise, everyone would be able to see through his disguise. The only function Heathcliff could use was to keep his HP bar above yellow, or to allow his actions to break through the system's restrictions in an emergency. In the past battles, Heathcliff had always used this function, and it alone was enough. Heathcliff's HP wouldn't drop below half of his HP, which was another form of invincibility. In this case, when used in the first strike victory mode, Heathcliff was basically invincible. No matter what, the opponent couldn't force Heathcliff down to half of his HP, so how could they win? Wu Yan was in the same situation. No matter how strong he was, he had no chance of winning against Heathcliff as a player. However, as mentioned before, it wasn't like he was completely helpless. Wu Yan estimated that he would be able to force Heathcliff to a draw if he only used half of his invincibility. Plus, with some tricks, Heathcliff wouldn't be able to do anything to him even if he only used half of his invincibility. The end result was still very debatable, however, things always change according to plan. Wu Yan didn't know what would happen in this duel. He might really lose, and if he lost, he would have to join Knights of the Blood. No one knew what the real result would be. Wonderful brush pavilion, no pop-up window, quick update, remember. Chapter 654. The sound of the countdown reverberated in the air and reverberated in all directions. Hearing the clear countdown sound, all the noise in the venue gradually died down. In the end, there was complete silence. Looking at the two figures standing opposite each other in the center of the arena, the crowd subconsciously slowed down their breathing. They didn't even dare to blink, afraid that they would miss the most exciting second, the most blood-boiling moment. No one doubted the degree of excitement of this duel, because the two people standing there were definitely not ordinary people. The members of Knights of the Blood seemed to have forgotten that they were supposed to maintain order in the square. Asuna also clenched her fists and looked back and forth between the two. A trace of nervousness and worry could be seen in her eyes. As for who she was worried about, only she knew. A gust of wind blew across the square, causing the hair and clothes of the two people to flutter. The countdown had reached the last 10 seconds, and the atmosphere instantly became dead silent. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, thump. The countdown sound was louder than any other sound before, pushing the atmosphere of the square to its peak. In an instant, the two people standing opposite each other moved at the same time. Afterimages suddenly flashed from where the two of them were standing. The two of them, who were originally 5 meters away from each other, instantly rushed in front of each other. Their gazes met and froze. Clang, the two swords collided violently, and the clear sound of weapons clashing rang out. A wave of air rolled up from the place where the two weapons collided, whistling and sweeping in all directions. Only at this time did the onlookers realize that the two of them were already facing each other. Sparks flickered at the point where the two weapons clashed. The two swords, one big and one small, fiercely collided with each other. The sound of friction like scraping glass could be heard one after another. Wu Yan and Heathcliff were in a deadlock with their swords in hand, but if you pay closer attention, you will notice that the two swords are in a deadlock. The two people who were in a deadlock have completely different expressions. Wu Yan's wine-red eyes stared straight at Heathcliff's somewhat ugly face. The corner of his mouth curled up and he let out a sneer. Then, he suddenly exerted force on his sword. The heaven gazer pressed down on Heathcliff. He felt an unparalleled force coming from his sword, and with a muffled sound, he was sent flying. The crowd around him exclaimed in surprise. Heathcliff gritted his teeth and steadied himself. He then looked at Wu Yan, who was standing opposite him with a sword in hand. His expression became slightly solemn. What a strong force, strength. Wu Yan smiled slightly. Heathcliff's pupils shrank. Wu Yan's figure quickly appeared in front of him. Only strength? As soon as his voice fell, a strong wind blew past Heathcliff's body. Heathcliff only had time to put his shield horizontally in front of him. A muffled sound rang out as a huge force directly hit Heathcliff's shield. Heathcliff was once again pushed back a few steps. As for Wu Yan, he had already raised his heaven gazer again and looked at Heathcliff with a smile. Heathcliff's expression turned ugly. Everyone saw that in the two exchanges, Wu Yan was unharmed, but Heathcliff's HP bar was reduced by a small chunk. The first exchange of blows. Without a doubt, he had the upper hand. Oh, the crowd cheered and cheered, offering the best cheers for this wonderful battle. So strong. Asuna murmured. Even the leader's defense couldn't completely block Yin Kuan's damage. Yin Kuan is really strong, looks like I underestimated you. Heathcliff sighed. His face was tense. I didn't expect your strength and dexterity to be so high, and your reflexes are also so strong. I miscalculated. Wu Yan's eyes flashed and he said jokingly, can I take it that you want to admit defeat? Ha. Heathcliff chuckled and placed the shield in front of him. No matter what, I'm still the leader of a guild. I won't admit defeat so easily. Then let's continue. Wu Yan licked his lips. Have fun. Have fun. Then. Fight. Heathcliff hid his face behind his shield so that no one could see his expression. He stomped on the ground and charged forward at full speed. Wu Yan stopped smiling and swung Heaven Gazer. A blue light flashed from the sword and alerted Heathcliff. It was a sign that he was about to use a skill. Despite being cautious, Heathcliff still charged at Wu Yan with his shield. Wu Yan waited until Heathcliff was right in front of him before he swung Heaven Gazer. Heathcliff stared at the black greatsword that was swinging towards his shield. He knew that with Asuna's strength, he would be the one at a disadvantage. That was why he chose to dodge the attack without hesitation. Heathcliff's charging posture suddenly changed. As if he was forcibly breaking the momentum, Heathcliff changed his direction and moved to Wu Yan's side. Heaven Gazer brushed past his body and crashed into Wu Yan. Bang! A hand suddenly pressed against Heathcliff's shield, stopping Heathcliff's momentum completely. Wu Yan pushed his hand hard and the shield was knocked away, revealing Heathcliff's figure. At the same time, Heaven Gazer, which was glowing with the light of a skill, swung down towards Heathcliff's chest. With his shield knocked away, Heathcliff lost his balance and fell backward. Seeing the black greatsword rushing towards him, Heathcliff's expression changed for a moment, but he quickly regained his composure. At the critical moment, Heathcliff's falling body suddenly stabilized. The shield that had been knocked away suddenly appeared in front of the Heaven Gazer at an unimaginable speed. It was as if time had stopped except for Heathcliff's body. Seeing this, Wu Yan's eyes flashed with excitement. Bang! The greatsword and the shield collided, and then quickly separated. Wu Yan's eyes turned cold. He knew that it was impossible for a normal player to do what Heathcliff did just now. Heathcliff's body was about to hit the ground, but he suddenly stabilized himself and straightened his body. His shield also inexplicably accelerated. It was obvious that Heathcliff had broken the system's restrictions on his movements. Finally, he resorted to cheating. Wu Yan swung Heaven Gazer at Heathcliff. He swung Heaven Gazer at Heathcliff's shield. Wu Yan's arm moved at a strange speed as he channeled more and more power into the shield. Every power he channeled into Heathcliff's shield was comparable to the power he channeled into Heathcliff's shield. Bang! Heathcliff felt as if he had been hit by a giant beast. He couldn't even stabilize himself and was sent flying backwards. He only managed to get up after sliding a distance away. He looked at Wu Yan as if he was looking at a monster. That power just now was actually not your limit. Compared to you, I still have a long way to go. Wu Yan turned his body sideways. His eyes were cold, but there was a smile on his face. Commander Heathcliff, you were able to block my attack in that situation. Your attack speed is much higher than mine. Heathcliff stood up and looked at Wu Yan. So what do you plan to do? If your attack speed doesn't exceed mine, you won't be able to defeat me. I see. Wu Yan lowered his head slightly, then suddenly raised it again. Then I'll surpass your attack speed. Before Heathcliff could react, a sword appeared in Wu Yan's other hand. Heathcliff's pupils constricted violently. To be continued. If you like this novel, you are welcome to vote for it. Your support is my greatest motivation. Mobile users, please read it here. Wonderful Brush Pavilion, no pop-ups, quick updates. Chapter 655. Wu Yan wielded the Heaven Gazer and a sword of average length. He lowered his arms and looked at Heathcliff like a cheetah about to pounce on its prey. He lowered his body and looked at Heathcliff. Dual sword style, his deep voice echoed in the surroundings. It was so soft that it could be drowned out by any other sound, but everyone present, including Heathcliff and Asuna, heard it clearly. What? Dual sword style? Asuna called out in a silly manner. What's that? A second sword? Is there a dual sword user in SAO? Asuna couldn't help but laugh at herself. It's impossible to use dual swords in SAO, because the swords in SAO are not paired, and each sword is unique. That is to say, if a player can equip two swords at once, it's equivalent to having an additional sword attribute bonus. This wasn't a joke. If an original 100 attack power was increased by 100 or more, it wouldn't be as simple as 1 plus 1. In addition, there would also be an increase in attack speed and other attributes. At that time, the increase in strength would be on a completely different level. That's why dual sword users are impossible in SAO. However, the person in front of her is indeed equipped with two swords. Dual blade stream. Asuna stared at the two swords in Wu Yan's hands. She's trying to figure out if he's just holding the swords in his hands. Is it a skill? A skill that can equip two swords? Is there such a cheat-like skill in SAO? Thinking of this, Asuna suddenly remembered something and turned to look at Heathcliff. Isn't there such a thing? Wasn't Heathcliff's holy sword, a skill that combined both offense and defense, exactly the same type of skill? A unique skill. Asuna smiled awkwardly. No way, unfortunately, Asuna's self-consolation was wrong. Dual sword style. It's a unique skill. It's a unique skill from the original work, Kirito. But now, dual sword style has become Wu Yan's unique skill. Wielding two swords, Wu Yan could clearly feel that the other sword's attribute has been transferred to his body, making his body much lighter. Even the strength of his arms has increased by quite a bit. He believes that his attack power and attack speed should have increased by a large margin. Dual sword style. Heathcliff also stared at Wu Yan's swords. I didn't expect you to have a unique skill as well. When the words, unique skill, came out, the players who were still trying to figure out why Wu Yan can wield dual swords instantly understood. Their expressions became more and more interesting as the crowd burst into an uproar. It's the second unique skill in SAO, dual sword style. Two players with unique skills appeared in front of them at the same time, and they're dueling. The crowd of onlookers was boiling with excitement. Listening to the commotion around him, Wu Yan smirked and looked at the opposite side. You seem to be very surprised. You clearly have your own unique skill. Wu Yan wasn't surprised that Heathcliff knew about dual sword style. He designed this skill for the player with the fastest reaction speed in the game. In the original work, Kirito was the fastest player in SAO, so it's not surprising that he became the fastest player. After all, no matter how fast Kirito's reaction speed is, he's just a normal human. How can he compare to Wu Yan, who isn't a human? But judging from Heathcliff's reaction, it seems like he doesn't know that two blades is in his hands. It is indeed surprising. Heathcliff's expression seemed to have changed for a moment. A player with a unique skill is incomparable to a normal player. You're not a normal player to begin with. How can I not be surprised when you have a unique skill as well? Heathcliff didn't expect Wu Yan to be the one to get his hands on this unique skill. But, it's also within reason. If the person in front of him didn't have a unique skill, then who else in SAO was qualified to have a unique skill? Don't be surprised, Commander Heathcliff. Wu Yan crossed his arms and raised his swords. There's more to come. Taking a step forward, a glint flashed in his eyes. Starburst airstream slash. Heathcliff's expression froze, and he hurriedly raised his shield. Almost at the same time, a figure rushed in front of Heathcliff's shield, and in the next moment, countless sword shadows covered the sky and covered the earth as they violently attacked. Heathcliff immediately took a few steps back, trying to break free from the onslaught of swords. But while he was retreating, Wu Yan came at him and mercilessly slashed at Heathcliff's shield. Bang! 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 As the shadow swords landed on Heathcliff's shield one after another, Heathcliff's body trembled violently as he was forced to retreat. The powerful force of the shadow swords caused a small portion of his HP bar to drop. Even though the small portion of his HP bar couldn't be any smaller, the shadow swords continued to land on him. Over time, his HP bar was reduced by more than half. With both swords in hand, Wu Yan closed his eyes and slashed at Heathcliff with the two swords. The sound of swords colliding with shield reverberated in the air. Wu Yan seemed to be immersed in this beautiful sword dance. He used infinite martial arts to execute Starburst Airstream slash in the best way, at the best time, and with the most powerful technique. Not only that, but he also gained a lot of strength from the additional sword attribute. Heathcliff was pushed back again and again. His eyes were wide open and his teeth were clenched tightly. He almost lost his grip on the shield because of the powerful force. But Wu Yan's attack speed was so fast that if Heathcliff reacted in time, he would suffer a fatal blow. So Heathcliff had no choice but to endure. "Ah!" Heathcliff shouted. He held his shield tightly, but he couldn't stop himself from being pushed back. Finally, he couldn't hold on any longer. Bang! The shield in his hand was knocked away in an instant, and a black greatsword came stabbing at Heathcliff's forehead. Bang! Ah! Heathcliff shouted again. He used his administrator privileges to break the system's restriction. The shield that was knocked away suddenly appeared in front of the Heaven Gazer and blocked it. At this moment, another sword slashed at Heathcliff's neck from the other side. Heathcliff's expression changed. He had no choice but to break the system's restriction again and block Wu Yan's slash with his longsword. There was a loud clang, and surprisingly, there was also a cracking sound. Wu Yan and Heathcliff froze at the same time. Bang! Wu Yan's other sword cracked and shattered into pieces before disappearing into thin air. TCH. Wu Yan pursed his lips and jumped away, putting some distance between him and Heathcliff. Heathcliff gasped for breath and forced a smile. Looks like Wu Yan, Kuan's other weapon isn't ideal. Well, I guess I can't find a weapon that's as good as the Heaven Gazer, so I can only use this to make up the numbers. Wu Yan helplessly threw away the sword hilt and looked at Heathcliff with a smile. But Commander Heathcliff doesn't look too good either. With your current HP, you'll drop to yellow after one more hit from me, right? Heathcliff's expression darkened when he heard Wu Yan's words. He glanced at his own HP and then looked forward. His face was expressionless, but his heart was filled with helplessness. Heathcliff was caught between a rock and a hard place. Wonderful brush pavilion, no pop-up window, quick update, remember. Chapter 656. Wu Yan's attack power was enough to break through Heathcliff's defense. With Heathcliff's current HP bar, even if he had a shield to block another attack from Wu Yan, his HP bar would drop to yellow. And the moment Heathcliff's HP bar dropped to yellow, he would lose. Of course, Heathcliff had the administrator's permission to keep his HP bar from dropping to yellow. So, even if he let Wu Yan attack him for a whole day, his HP bar wouldn't drop to yellow, let alone one attack from Wu Yan. But this wasn't enough to guarantee Heathcliff's victory. With so many people here, anyone with a discerning eye can see that with his current HP bar, he won't be able to take a hit from Wu Yan. After one hit, his HP bar will drop to yellow. If he can take a hit from Wu Yan and his HP bar doesn't drop to yellow, then his identity will be exposed. However, if he didn't keep his HP above the yellow level, he would also lose the duel because his HP would drop to the yellow level after receiving the attack. So, Heathcliff was really stuck in a difficult situation. To get out of this situation, Heathcliff had two options. The first option was to clear Wu Yan's HP bar to yellow before Wu Yan attacked him. That way, Heathcliff would win. However, Heathcliff clearly saw that Wu Yan's HP bar was full. From the start of the duel, Wu Yan was the one attacking him. Heathcliff, who was inferior to Wu Yan in terms of strength and speed, didn't even manage to land a single hit on Wu Yan. How could Heathcliff reduce Wu Yan's HP bar to half in one hit? If Wu Yan took one hit from Heathcliff and switched to another, then Heathcliff would lose. As for the second option, if Wu Yan can't hit him, he'll be the one attacking Wu Yan. This way, Heathcliff can win. The problem was, how could Heathcliff, who was slower than Wu Yan, dodge Wu Yan's attacks? Neither of the two methods was suitable for this situation. That is to say, it was equivalent to having no other way. Heathcliff could also use his administrator privileges to modify his attack power and speed. He could either reduce the opponent's HP by half in one hit, or increase his speed to exceed the opponent's. This way, he could use both methods. However, this method could not be implemented. With a single strike, he had defeated an opponent who was at the same level as him, or even higher. Half of the opponent's HP was gone, even with top-notch equipment. Was that even possible? As long as Heathcliff used this method, there was no doubt that his identity would be suspected. As for the modification speed, to surpass Wu Yan's level, the problem is the same as above, a person with better equipment than him. What reason did he have to be faster than him, much faster? Yet another way to expose myself. Of course, as an administrator, Heathcliff had many ways to win this duel, but none of these methods were suitable for public use. Once he used them, his identity would be exposed. Unless he didn't care about his identity being exposed, he couldn't use these methods at all. In other words, he wanted to make sure that no one would suspect him. There was almost no way to win this duel. Heathcliff had never thought that he would be forced into such a corner by a mere player. Aggrieved, truly aggrieved. However, Heathcliff also didn't want his identity to be exposed so soon. Even if he was suspicious, when the suspicion accumulated to a certain extent, he would be exposed. He would be exposed as well. Moreover, the guy in front of him wasn't a fool. If he used too many cheating methods, it would definitely arouse his suspicions. If that happened, his identity would be exposed, and Heathcliff didn't want that to happen. Poor Heathcliff thought that he had to keep his identity a secret, but he didn't know that his opponent had already known about his identity from the very beginning. Right now, not only Heathcliff, but the audience didn't think that Heathcliff had a chance of winning this duel. One of his HP bars was full, and the other could only last for one more hit. Furthermore, Wu Yan's dual sword style was like a storm, so there was no need to guess who would win this duel. Even the members of Knights of the Blood didn't think that their commander had a chance of winning, let alone the rest of the audience. The entire scene became silent as the two people in the center of the square became silent. Everyone's attention was on Heathcliff. Their eyes were filled with nervousness and anticipation. They were waiting for Heathcliff's next move, or perhaps they were waiting for Heathcliff to turn the tables around. Wu Yan didn't say anything. He just held the heaven gazer and stared at Heathcliff without moving an inch. However, Heathcliff knew that if he made any movement, this person would attack him. Heathcliff stared at the figure in front of him. His expression didn't change at all, but the emotions in his eyes kept fluctuating, until... Sigh. Heathcliff sighed and relaxed his tense body. He sheathed his sword into his shield. Dual sword style is really strong. Heathcliff shook his head and smiled. If Wu Yan, Kuen's weapon didn't run out of durability, I would have lost long ago. Commander Heathcliff, you're underestimating yourself. Wu Yan shrugged. Divine Sword is a unique skill. If my stats weren't higher than yours, I don't know what would have happened. You can say that I'm relying on the convenience of my equipment. Wu Yan was lying. How could he rely on his equipment when he had the strength and speed to surpass the current top players? Wu Yan's stats may be higher than the top players, but they aren't ridiculously high. The main reason for this is because of infinite arms refinement. It allows him to perfectly utilize the basic abilities of these stats to their limits or even surpass them. This is why there is such a clear difference. Without infinite armory, Wu Yan wouldn't be that much stronger than Heathcliff and Kirito. After all, there were many things in this world that required balance and fairness. Wu Yan only said that to give Heathcliff a way out. Heathcliff had already put away his weapon, so there was no doubt about it. Heathcliff looked at Wu Yan seriously and turned around. Wu Yan, the Fey swordsman, you really live up to your title as the strongest player. I admit defeat in this duel. As soon as he said that, the symbol of victory on the duel sign in the air pointed at Wu Yan's direction, informing everyone that Wu Yan is the victor of this duel. Oh, the players cheered as they congratulated the victor standing in the center of the stage. After today's battle, the mysterious Fey swordsman will enter the eyes of the players. The Fey swordsman's name, Wu Yan, will be etched into the hearts of the players. And along with that, the title of the strongest player. Even in his normal state, he was able to defeat Heathcliff, who had a unique skill, not to mention the short-lived dual sword style that also had a unique skill. I'm afraid the entire SAO is going to be excited about the second unique skill in the game world. Wu Yan chuckled, put the heaven gazer back on his back, and walked out of the duel with his back facing Heathcliff. Wherever he went, the players automatically made way for him and cheered for him to walk out of the duel. Heathcliff stared at Wu Yan's back. He didn't even acknowledge the arrival of the Knights of the Blood Oath. He rubbed his sword and shield as he muttered to himself. I'm looking forward to the duel with you. If you like this novel, you're welcome to vote for it. Your support is my biggest motivation. Mobile users, please go here to read. Wondrous Brush Pavilion, no pop-ups, quick updates. Chapter 657. Aincrad's 55th floor, Granzum. Inside a restaurant, Wu Yan and Asuna sat across from each other. The table in front of them was filled with all sorts of dishes. They didn't touch anything because they weren't in the mood to eat. To be more precise, one of them is spacing out while the other is looking around in annoyance. She kept sighing and sighing. Players filled up the restaurant one after another. There were even people queuing up at the entrance of the restaurant. Most people would think that the restaurant's business is booming because of the delicious food, but Wu Yan knew that they had an ulterior motive. Most of them only had a single drink in front of them. They looked more like they were drinking tea than eating. They kept sneaking glances in Wu Yan and Asuna's direction. When they got caught, they would look away and they would look back at Wu Yan and Asuna again. They looked like paparazzi, but they didn't look very professional. And the whispers of these people from time to time also revealed their purpose in doing so. Isn't that the Fey swordsman Wu Yan and the Flash Asuna? Why are the two of them together? Are they on a date? No way, the Fey swordsman just defeated the leader of the Knights of the Blood and Lady Asuna is the vice leader of the Knights of the Blood. Why would she go on a date with someone who defeated her leader? Are they here to get back at him? I think it's more like they're scouting for enemies, but why do I feel like they're on a date? No. Impossible. Lady Asuna. Why would she go on a date with another man? That's the Fey swordsman Wu Yan, the strongest player in the game. Do you think he's a nobody? I bet Lady Asuna was impressed by Lord Wu Yan's strength. No way. Lady Asuna isn't that kind of person. What's going on? Ah. Good intentions. But Asuna-sama is so cute. Lord Wu Yan is also not bad. I say, do you dare to speak any softer? The corner of Wu Yan's mouth twitched as he listened to the whispers around him. His heart was about to explode. Asuna, on the other hand, was still in a daze. It seems like she didn't hear what they were saying. This made Wu Yan speechless. Don't tell me you brought me here to be watched by others? Wu Yan grumbled. Or do you want me to watch you daydream? Wu Yan grumbled. Asuna stared blankly at Wu Yan and murmured. He really won. Wu Yan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Are you that upset about my victory? It's not a shock. Asuna muttered. I just didn't expect that the regiment commander, who is usually regarded as invincible, would actually admit defeat. What can he do if he doesn't admit defeat? If the fight continued, I would still be the winner. It's not surprising that he admitted defeat. Of course, Wu Yan wouldn't tell Asuna the truth about the duel. This was the best outcome he could have hoped for. Otherwise, Heathcliff's identity might have been exposed. Even though the final battle might not be as early as in the original novel, the situation would still be out of Wu Yan's control. For Wu Yan, Heathcliff admitting defeat was the best outcome he could have hoped for. Asuna pursed her lips and looked at Wu Yan. Don't get too cocky. Even though you won in the end, it's not like you didn't break the leader's record of having his HP drop to yellow. Break his record of having his HP drop to yellow? If he doesn't want to, no one will be able to break his record in this lifetime. Wu Yan rolled his eyes and glanced around before sighing. Let's finish this quickly. I'm afraid I won't be able to take it if this continues, Asuna flinched. She finally realized how conspicuous her presence is. She didn't feel uncomfortable like Wu Yan did. She's used to this kind of situation, she's already used to it. Asuna took a sip of tea and said. So, what's the deal with that two-sword stream? What do you mean what's the deal? Huh? Do you have any self-awareness? Asuna put her hands on her waist. That's a unique skill. It's a unique skill. No one can learn it except for the player who owns it. Do you want to just brush it off like that? Then what do you want me to do? Wu Yan glared at Asuna. Since it's a unique skill, do you think I'm supposed to spread the information about how to learn it? Or do you think other people will be able to learn it if I spread the information? You should at least tell me the origin of this skill. Asuna muttered in a low voice, at least tell me the origin of this skill. Well. Wu Yan shrugged. It's a skill I just acquired a while ago. I don't even know when it got there. Asuna bit her lip and glared at Wu Yan. Why do you sound like you're talking about a cooking skill when you talk about such a powerful skill? Yes, two-sword stream is strong. Wu Yan smiled. But so far, there's no one that I can face with my dual sword style. Heathcliff is an exception. What? You look so amazing. Asuna narrowed her eyes. That's only for now. As the number of floors increases, solo players will gradually become more and more difficult. There will definitely be a limit. Sooner or later, forming a party will be the only way for players to clear the dungeon. Team up, huh? Wu Yan's mind went blank for a split second. He quickly regained his composure, but Asuna noticed it. Her expression turned serious. Wu Yan didn't notice the change in Asuna's expression. Let's talk about the future later. Maybe by then, there will be someone who can team up with me. Don't make it sound like there isn't one. Asuna said. It's not like no one wants to team up with you, at least for now. I'm still a solo player. Wu Yan said and finished the last bite of food on the table. Okay, I'll leave now. It doesn't feel good to be surrounded by so many people. Wu Yan was about to stand up when a box appeared in front of him. Asuna has invited you to join her friend list. Wu Yan flinched and he looked at Asuna with a surprised look. Asuna blushed and she hurriedly tried to explain herself. Don't get me wrong, I just want to confirm if you're still alive. Wu Yan laughed when he saw how flustered Asuna was. He clicked okay, and they joined each other's friend list. Sure, I don't know why you're in such a hurry. Wu Yan rolled his eyes at Asuna. He waved goodbye to Asuna and he walked towards the door. I hope you'll feel sad for me when I'm removed from your friend list. Wu Yan walked out of the cafeteria after saying that. What the hell? Asuna turned her head away in dissatisfaction. At the same time, an email arrived in front of Asuna, and her eyes narrowed. There were only a few words on the email, but Asuna couldn't help but take it seriously. We found the room where the boss is. Finally found it. Asuna stood up and touched the hilt of her sword. She glanced at the direction Wu Yan left with a smirk on her face. We, the clearers, will be taking the boss. Sorry, Yan-kun. Chapter 658. Walking out of a weapon shop, Wu Yan rubbed his forehead and sighed. Wu Yan has lost count of the number of weapon shops that have disappointed him. Now that SAO has developed to a certain stage, blacksmithing has also become a profession, and it's becoming more and more popular. The weapons crafted by the best blacksmiths were obviously much better than the weapons dropped from monsters. Some of the weapons could be upgraded by the blacksmiths, making them even more powerful. Therefore, if a player needed a weapon, they would not run to the wilderness or the labyrinth area to hunt for it. Instead, they would buy it directly from the weapon shops opened by other players. It's the same for Wu Yan. The weapons and equipment dropped by the monsters can't satisfy his needs. He needs to start looking for weapons and equipment from the life profession players. Of course, it's not that Wu Yan's equipment can't keep up with his needs. On the contrary, this set of equipment is a set of godly equipment that he has amassed over a long period of time, including Heaven Gazer. Although they have accompanied Wu Yan for quite some time, after many rounds of grinding and leveling, they have become the most suitable equipment for Wu Yan. Even their levels are higher than top players. With this set of equipment, as long as Wu Yan is willing to spend money to upgrade them, it won't be difficult for him to keep them with him until the end of SAO. In other words, Wu Yan doesn't have to worry about changing his equipment. This is Wu Yan's previous thought. It's true that his current equipment can keep up with his progress and meet his requirements. There's no need for him to change his equipment. Even if he waits, he can continue to upgrade them. However, what he's worried about right now isn't the equipment he's wearing, it's the problem of the other weapon. Wu Yan has spent a lot of money to upgrade the Heaven Gazer. It's definitely the strongest god weapon in the game right now. However, with the dual sword style, one Heaven Gazer can't satisfy Wu Yan at all. The last time he fought with Heathcliff, the Heaven Gazer's durability was depleted due to the lack of equipment. In the end, Heathcliff had to admit defeat. If Wu Yan had a second weapon comparable to the Heaven Gazer at that time, not only would his stats be greatly increased, he would also be much stronger than he was when he was using a cheap weapon. In the past, he never had to resort to using dual sword Ryu against an enemy, so he never thought about this problem. But now, this problem has to be put on the agenda. Otherwise, if the weapon drops the chain at a crucial moment, that would be a huge joke. Since that day, Wu Yan has been planning to buy a suitable weapon. However, after so long, Wu Yan has visited almost every weapon shop on every floor, but he still hasn't found a suitable weapon. If it's not a problem with the blacksmith, it's a problem with the materials. Wu Yan hasn't been able to get a second weapon, and his dual sword style has been sealed. Fortunately, there's nothing that can threaten Wu Yan yet. Otherwise, Wu Yan would have to carry a bunch of cheap weapons around and replace them with a new one. He'll be a wasteful player. Suffering setbacks after setbacks, Wu Yan even had the idea of going straight to farming monsters to get a celestial weapon. If that's the case, it's not like there's no chance at all. But, how long would he have to grind to get an ideal weapon? Wu Yan doesn't have that much patience. Wu Yan touched the hilt of Heaven Gazer on his back and pursed his lips. He opened his friend list and found Asuna's name. Wu Yan knows that Asuna has a friend who's a very good blacksmith. In the original work, Kirito got his second weapon from her. Before he found her, Kirito was just like Wu Yan. He's been struggling to find a second weapon. With Asuna's blacksmith friend's skill, it wouldn't be hard for her to make a god weapon with the right materials. However, Wu Yan didn't dare to click on Asuna's name to ask for her friend's location. It's not that he can't afford it, it's just that they haven't contacted each other since they became friends. Now that Wu Yan suddenly has to contact Asuna, Wu Yan felt awkward. It's as if he's afraid of hearing Asuna's voice. What Wu Yan didn't know is that his situation is very similar to that of those men and women who have feelings for each other waiting for the other party's call. They are waiting for the other party to contact them but they don't dare to personally dial the number. Wu Yan scratched his face and looked at Asuna's name. He sighed for the umpteenth time and closed the interface. Let's keep looking, I've been looking for her for a while now. After giving himself an excuse to comfort himself, Wu Yan walked towards the teleport gate to look for his next target. Most towns and cities have a teleport gate. With this gate, players don't need to use teleport crystals to teleport between floors. Wu Yan may have a lot of money but he's not so extravagant as to not use free stuff. When players use teleport crystals to teleport to other locations, they will be teleported to the teleport gate as well. This is a very convenient location for players. When he arrived at the teleport gate's plaza, Wu Yan heard an unusually loud commotion. Wu Yan frowned and looked towards the source of the noise. He saw a player in his 20s or 30s standing there, grabbing onto the passers-by and begging for something. However, the passers-by ignored him and even cursed at him. Only a small number of players frowned with a troubled expression on their faces. Wu Yan was confused by the situation. At this time, a familiar figure entered his sight. Blinking his eyes, Wu Yan walked up to the guy and stood behind him. What are you doing here? Kirito. Kirito, who was staring at the player begging for his life, turned around and saw Wu Yan there. He gasped when he saw Wu Yan. It's you. Why do you look like you've seen a ghost? Wu Yan's mouth twitched. Are you surprised to see me here? Kirito finally came to his senses and scratched his head in embarrassment. Well, a little. The two have only met twice. The first time was when they were clearing the first floor's boss. The second time was during the Christmas event in the Forest of Lost. Of course, Kirito was surprised to see Wu Yan here. After all, the person in front of him is a famous person. Oh right. Wu Yan pointed towards the player. What's going on? Kirito's expression darkened and he bitterly smiled. That person is the guild master of a small guild called Silver Flag. Not long ago, other than him, all the other members of his guild were annihilated by the Orange Guild, Titan's Hand, Orange Guild. Wu Yan nodded. The kind of guild that specializes in robbing players and killing their prey? Ah. Kirito nodded and looked at the player. He wants someone to avenge him, but he doesn't want to kill them. He wants them to go to jail. Oh. What a nice guy. Wu Yan sighed. So, do you want to go? Kirito smiled and looked at Wu Yan. Do you want to go too? Wu Yan pondered for a moment. He rolled his eyes and a sly smile appeared on his face. Hey, Kirito. Wu Yan smiled at Kirito. How about a bet? A bet? That's right. Let's see who can send the members of Titan's Hand to jail first. Wu Yan had a strange smile on his face. Whoever wins will have to agree to one condition within their power. How about it? Kirito paused for a moment and smiled. Sounds interesting, oh? Then. Okay. I agree. Chapter 659. Aincrad's 35th floor, Forest of Wandering. Unlike the previous snowy Forest of Wandering, although the environment in the Forest of Wandering wasn't the best, it still felt like a woodland at night. The surrounding trees were green and full of vitality. Apart from the monsters in the forest, it was a good choice for people to have a picnic in the Forest of Wandering. Unfortunately, in a corner, a few people were arguing, destroying the tranquil and serene atmosphere. What are you talking about? A group of 5 was gathered together. There were 2 female players and 3 male players. The 3 male players were standing on one side, looking a little lost. The 2 female players were standing opposite each other. It seemed that the 2 players were the ones who were in a dispute. The tall female player with curly red hair and a slightly seductive appearance is looking at the item in front of her. Since you have that lizard to heal you, you don't need a recovery crystal, right? The one standing in front of the tall female player is a short, cute girl. Her yellow hair is tied into 2 ponytails with a red hairband. There's also a lizard dragon on her head. In terms of appearance, she's comparable to some of the top girls in SAO. Most importantly, she's cute. However, this girl is very cute. His red pupils were filled with indignation. You're the one. You're not going to the front lines. Why would you need a recovery crystal? Of course. The tall female player's voice was filled with provocation. I'm not like Silica who has a man to heal you. The petite girl named Silica raised her head and looked at the person in front of her. Her expression didn't change much. However, the anger in his eyes was clearly displayed. The 3 male players on the side seemed to be frightened by the quarrel between the 2. One of them quickly stood up and said to the tall female player. Miss Rosalia, Silica, you too, I got it. Silica interrupted the other party and put away the personal interface in front of her. She then turned to the tall female player named Rosalia. I don't need any items, but I won't team up with you anymore. Silica said. Silica said to Rosalia as if she was taking revenge, there are many teams that want me. I can still survive without you. Silica ignored the 4 players who were her teammates just a second ago and turned around. Along with the little dragon-shaped pet on his head. She walked towards the outskirts of the forest. Silica didn't notice the strange glint in Rosalia's eyes when she turned to leave. She licked her lips and smirked wickedly. She looked at Silica as if she was looking at a boss that could be easily taken care of. Silica didn't know what she's going to face when she left in a fit of pique. What is it? Originally, the sky was already close to dusk. While the 2 of them were arguing, the curtain of night quietly fell. By the time Sheely realized that she was walking alone in the Forest of Wandering, which was filled with monsters, the sky had already turned completely dark. In the forest, some of the monsters that only appeared at night let out roars. Mixed with the forest's unique chill, Sheely couldn't help but feel a little scared. She grabbed the dragon pet and quickened her pace. She walked towards the exit of the Forest of Wandering. She had to leave this place as soon as possible. Otherwise, if she encountered monsters later, just as this thought flashed through her mind, a few heavy footsteps came from the trees beside her. Startled, Silica hurriedly tried to change direction, but the owner of the footsteps appeared in front of her. A gorilla holding a wooden mallet in one hand and a wine flask in the other walked out from behind the trees. It was about 2 meters tall and brimmed with power. Its red eyes were fixed on Silica. The hostility in its eyes made Silica involuntarily take 2 steps back. Sheely bit her lip, turned around and ran in another direction, but she soon retreated because there was another gorilla there. Silica suddenly realized that there was a gorilla in front of her, to her left, and to her right. She had no choice but to retreat. Behind her was a giant tree that blocked her way. Chirp! Chirp! The dragon pet on Silica's head immediately flew up and growled at the three gorillas. It seemed like it wanted to protect its master. It was not like a pet in the game at all. Instead, it was quite intelligent. The dragon's growl woke Silica up. Shili took a deep breath and pulled out the short sword at her waist. She bent her body and looked at the three gorillas as they approached. Her red eyes constantly scanned the three gorillas, trying to find a way to get away from them. One of the gorillas seemed to have lost its patience. It opened its mouth and let out a roar. It took a step forward and rushed towards Silica. It smashed the wooden mallet in its hand. It did not show any mercy even though its opponent was a cute little girl. Silica's expression changed. She jumped forward and dodged the attack from the gorilla's side. Almost at the same time, the mallet smashed into the ground, creating a cloud of dust and even a slight vibration. Silica did not doubt that if she was hit by this attack, she would lose at least 1/3 of her HP. In other words, she could only survive 3 hits at most. Bang! While observing the situation, Silica was caught off guard. She was hit directly by a gorilla. Her petite body was lifted into the air, but she was immediately sent flying by a mallet. Bang! Ah! Shili fell to the ground, and her HP bar immediately dropped below the yellow level. This time, Silica really panicked. She turned around and stood up, but what greeted her was a mallet in front of her. Boom! The mallet fell on the ground, and Shili managed to dodge it in time. The other 2 gorillas immediately rushed forward and swung their mallets at her. Shili could only crouch down to avoid one of the mallets, then she jumped up and retreated quickly, falling behind them. Silica looked up at the 3 gorillas in front of her. She was already panting. Her hand gripped the short sword so tightly that it hurt, but she did not feel anything. Her heart was filled with anxiety. If she did not leave now, chirp! The little dragon drew an arc in the air and arrived at Shili's side. It spat out a mouthful of rainbow-colored light that enveloped Shili. In the blink of an eye, Shili's HP recovered by 1/3. Seeing this, Silica reached into the bag behind her waist. After fumbling around for a while, she was shocked. She no longer had any recovery items. Roar! While Silica was still in shock, a gorilla suddenly came in front of her and smashed her with a mallet. This time, Silica's HP was completely red. Silica, who was lying on the ground, could not help but be horrified. She looked at the gorilla that was gradually approaching her. She kept moving backward. After a while, the gorilla was in front of her. Looking at the horrified Silica on the ground, the gorilla did not hesitate and swung the mallet in its hand. If this attack hit, Silica's HP would definitely be emptied. Bang! At the critical moment, the little dragon flew in front of Silica and blocked the attack. It was smashed to the ground by the mallet. Its body bounced a few times, and its HP slowly dropped to the bottom. Pina! Silica was stunned. She could not believe that her beloved pet, who blocked the attack for her, had its HP reduced to the bottom. She could not react for a long time. At this time, the 3 gorillas with mallets in their hands were already closing in on her. Wonderful brush pavilion, no pop-up window, quick update, remember. Chapter 660. In the forest of wandering, a silhouette dashed towards a certain direction at a speed invisible to the naked eye. His body turned into a long line and swept past like a gust of wind. Wherever he passed, the trees seemed to be blown by a gust of wind. All the branches fell in one direction with a hoo-hoo sound. The leaves danced in the air and were swept far away by the gust of wind. Running like mad. After exiting the 35th floor's teleportation gate, Wuyan maintained this speed and rushed into the forest of wandering. As he ran, Wuyan's wine-red eyes scanned his surroundings in an attempt to discover something. After an unknown amount of time, something finally caught Wuyan's attention. The scene of 3 gorillas surrounding a petite girl was imprinted into his eyes. Wu Yan's expression darkened when he saw this. He placed his hand on the hilt of Heaven Gazer and dashed forward. Accompanied by a cold flash of light, the sword slashed across the 3 gorillas' bodies. Bang! 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 In an instant, the 3 gorillas were reduced to pieces before they could even make a sound. The pieces scattered all over the place, revealing Silica's figure. Silica stared blankly at Wu Yan, who appeared in front of her. She didn't move for a long time until she finally reacted. She panicked and turned to look at Pina. Pina. Silica crawled to Pina's side and hugged it. She watched helplessly as Pina's HP bar fell to the bottom. She panicked and tears fell uncontrollably from her eyes. Pina. Pina, ugh. Pina opened its eyes and looked at its owner. Its body emitted a fluorescent light and shattered into pieces under Silica's gaze. No. No. Silica's small face was covered in tears. Shili's hoarse voice sounded like it was forced out of her throat. She frantically tried to grab Pina's fragments in the air. She wanted to keep them here, but all she could do was grab at thin air. A glowing feather floated down from the pieces and fell into Silica's hand. Silica stared blankly at the feather in her hand, tears of pain flowed down her face. Pina. No. Wu. Silica sat on the ground. Shili hugged the feather that Pina had transformed into. Tears flowed out of her eyes and dripped onto the feather that was glowing. Her cries became the only sound that could be heard in this world. Her cries filled the entire sky, and a sorrowful atmosphere permeated the air. The night wind carried a trace of desolation. Wu Yan sighed faintly as he looked at Silica, who sat on the ground and cried. Was he still a step too late? Wu Yan felt bad when he heard Silica's sorrowful sobs. He scratched his face and walked to Silica's side. He patted her shoulder. All right, don't be so sad. Silica turned her head. Her tear-stained face came face to face with Wu Yan's face. Her tear-stained eyes finally managed to see the face of the person beside her. Wiping her face, she cried out in a sobbing voice. Thank you. Thank you, for saving me, you're welcome. Wu Yan smiled bitterly. Didn't I save one more life in the end? Shili recalled the scene where Pina blocked the final attack for her. Tears streamed down her cheeks again. She buried her face in her chest and suppressed her sobs. Don't cry. Wu Yan inched closer to Silica, feeling a bit uncomfortable. He patted her head. It's not like your tamed beast can't be resurrected, resurrected. Silica's sobbing shoulders froze. She quickly raised her head and looked at Wu Yan with teary eyes full of hope. Is that true? Pina can be resurrected? Really? Wu Yan blushed when a cute girl looked at him like that. He quickly said, in the southern part of the 47th floor, there's a labyrinth outside the circle called the Mound of Memories. There is a rare item at the top of the mound that can be used to resurrect tamed beasts. With that item, Pina can be resurrected. Shili smiled in surprise, but the next moment, her smile froze. The 47th floor, Silica lowered her head. She raised her head again with determination. I understand. I will work hard to level up. One day, I will reach the 47th floor and get the item that can resurrect Pina. I don't want to hurt your feelings. Wu Yan looked away from Silica. He hesitated for a moment and whispered, if a tamed beast can't be resurrected within 3 days after its death, it can't be resurrected anymore. If the master doesn't go there personally, there is no way to get the item that can be resurrected. Silica trembled. She buried her head in her chest again. She tightened her grip on the feather. Her shoulders shook. Pina, well, you don't have to be sad. Wu Yan shook his head. I can go with you. Getting the item shouldn't be a problem. Silica was stunned. She turned to Wu Yan. Wu Yan smiled at her. He opened his personal interface and sent Silica a trade request. He then gave her some items. "These are for you," Wu Yan said softly. "With these items, you can go to the Mound of Memories by yourself. Are you relieved now?" Yes, Shili couldn't help but jump in fright when she saw one piece of excellent equipment after another being traded into her inventory. If she equipped all of these pieces of equipment, her strength would increase by at least tenfold. If she sold them all, she could fetch an astronomical sum. Shili was somewhat flattered by this sudden development. No. I can't accept these things," Silica said to Wu Yan in a panic. "It's not that expensive." Wu Yan scratched his cheek in embarrassment. "It's just some low-level items that I couldn't get rid of in the past. I didn't think they would come in handy today. You don't have to worry too much about them." "How can I?" Silica's voice became softer and softer. Her eyes were trembling as she looked at the items. Although Silica's rationality told her that she couldn't accept these items, her emotions told her that with these items, Pina would be saved. Looking at Silica, Wu Yan knew what she was thinking. He laughed and rubbed her little head. "Then take it as my investment. When you're stronger than me in the future, remember to give me more precious equipment than this. Otherwise, I'll definitely stick to you." Silica smiled through her tears. She looked at Wu Yan gratefully. She knew that this was most likely impossible. He was just trying to comfort her. After wiping away her tears, Silica sneaked a glance at Wu Yan. She hesitated for a moment. Why are you so nice to me?" "Well." Wu Yan laughed dryly. He felt a lot of pressure under Silica's gaze. He had no choice but to say something in a low voice. "I can't help it. I can't do anything about a girl's tears." His words, which were as soft as a mosquito's, entered Shili's ears. She was startled and lowered her head. "You're such a gentle guy." "Gentle?" Wu Yan turned his face away guiltily. He exhaled. "Do you really believe in my reasons? Maybe I'm lying to you?" A smile appeared on Silica's face. "I'm willing to believe you." "Are you serious?" Wu Yan frowned. "Be careful. You don't even know if I betray you." "I'm willing to believe you." Silica didn't respond directly. Instead, she looked into Wu Yan's eyes and repeated her words with a firm tone. Wu Yan and Silica looked at each other. He tried to find a trace of unnaturalness in Silica's eyes but failed. Wu Yan smiled bitterly and shook his head. "Truly, a person who makes people unable to get angry," Silica smiled. "If you like this novel, you're welcome to vote for it. Your support is my biggest motivation. Mobile users, please read it here. Wondrous Brush Pavilion. No pop-up windows." Chapter 661. At night, Aincrad is unusually clean. It's not as colorful as the real world, but it's brightly lit. The ancient buildings look a little misty under the Western European-style lights. Even though the streets aren't that bright, no one would feel bored walking around here. After leaving the Forest of Wandering, Wu Yan and Silica arrived at the closest town to the forest. Wu Yan wanted to go home, but he can't just bring Silica back with him. No matter what, she's still a girl and this is the first time they've met. If he brought her home on their first meeting, not only would he feel awkward about it, Silica might even misunderstand him. Wu Yan forgot about the time he brought Asuna back to his home. Exiting the teleport gate plaza, the two of them headed towards the hotel. Along the way, the passers-by kept looking at Wu Yan. Looking at him with a black greatsword on his back, their eyes were filled with confusion. It's not just the pedestrians, even Silica kept looking at Wu Yan as if she's sizing him up. Wu Yan started to feel a bit uneasy. "Say, Silica, is there anything strange about me?" Wu Yan couldn't resist Silica's scrutinizing gaze. He helplessly asked. Silica blinked and looked at Wu Yan for a while. Then she said thoughtfully, "I have a feeling that Mr. Wu Yan's outfit is very similar to the legendary Fey swordsman. Wu Yan's expression froze. No, it's not just the outfit. Silica looked at Wu Yan in surprise. Even your name is the same as that lord. Could it be that Mr. Wu Yan is that Lord Wu Yan? That's... Wu Yan pursed his lips. He lamented the fact that his equipment is a bit too conspicuous. He didn't intend to hide it, so he was about to admit it when Silica interrupted him. Well, how is that possible? Silica waved her hand. Silica laughed. Lord Fei Swordsman has an elven tamed demon. It's much stronger than Pina. Although Mr. Wu Yan looks like Lord Fei Swordsman, he doesn't have a tamed demon. How can he be that lord? Wu Yan laughed awkwardly. She was speechless to the extreme. But at the same time, he felt relieved. Could it be that the passers-by only took a glance at his outfit before moving away? Was it because he had kept his healing fairy away that they thought he was just an elven swordsman? It's not hard to understand. Looking at Wu Yan's equipment, you wouldn't be able to tell that it's high level. Other players can easily dress up like him. Only the healing fairy is unique, no one else has it. Naturally, the healing fairy became Wu Yan's defining characteristic. Speaking of which, Wu Yan's nickname was the Fei Swordsman. It's not strange for his healing fairy to become his signature. His healing fairy was different from Silica's Pina. Although they were both healing-type pets, his healing fairy's healing ability was much better than Pina's. It recovered 20% HP every minute. It was because of his healing fairy that Wu Yan was able to run rampant in many high-level labyrinths. On the other hand, Shili's Pina's healing wasn't as effective. She could only recover around 2,000 to 4,000 HP per minute. While this was undoubtedly a good effect for low-level players, it wasn't ideal for top-tier players who had over 10,000 HP at any given moment. Of course, this was also because Silica's level was too low. If she had the level of a top player, then Pina's healing ability would be very tempting. No matter what, Pina was a precious tamed demon. Tamed demons wouldn't be so rare if they didn't have any special abilities. At least, Wu Yan had never heard of any other player who had a tamed demon other than himself and Silica. Compared to the healing fairy, Pina's healing ability wasn't as good. However, Pina had self-awareness and could move on its own. Unlike the healing fairy, Pina would only stay by Wu Yan's side and not do anything else other than heal him once a minute. There were pros and cons to this. With self-awareness, Pina's actions were much more independent. Sometimes, it could even bring unimaginable help to its master. For example, if Pina didn't help Silica block the attack, Silica would have died a long time ago. If it were Wu Yan's healing fairy, it would have watched Wu Yan die without hesitation. However, it was also because of this that the healing fairy could be stored in the tamed demon crystal at any time. There was no need to keep it by his side all the time. This saved Wu Yan a lot of trouble. If Silica's level could be increased, she would definitely become the target of all the guilds. Shaking his head, Wu Yan looked at Silica. All right. Then, Silica, why did you call that Fey Swordsman Lord? Hearing this, Shili clasped her hands together and placed them in front of her chest, her face full of longing. Of course, Swordsman is the strongest player in SAO. He alone is comparable to the clearers, and he also has a tamed monster similar to Pina. Swordsman is my idol. Wu Yan raised his eyebrows and was speechless. Since he's your idol, why don't you know what he looks like? Seeing Wu Yan's speechless expression, Silica thought he was shocked by her words. She quickly added, of course, Wu Yan-san is also very strong. Is that so? Wu Yan thought Silica was trying to console him. Little did he know, he took care of 3 nightmarish monsters in one go. In Silica's mind, Wu Yan is a high-level player. Not long after, the two arrived at a hotel. Looking at the wooden building, Silica suddenly asked, by the way, Mr. Wu Yan-san, you should have your own home, right? Where is your home? It's on the 22nd floor. Wu Yan said helplessly, it's not that far from here. I wanted to go straight home, but since you're here, I'll stay here too, 22nd floor? Shili was a little surprised to hear that. I thought with Mr. Wu Yan, San's strength, you should live in a higher floor. The higher the floor, the better. Wu Yan smiled at Silica. At least one of my friends is jealous of my home. She said it has a beautiful environment, is that so? Silica nodded. She tilted her head and said, I really want to see it. Wu Yan's expression became a little sullen when he heard Silica's words. He didn't bring Silica home directly because it was their first meeting, but he didn't expect that she didn't care at all. How could he not feel aggrieved? Ah, isn't this Silica? At this time, a frivolous voice with a hint of sarcasm sounded from not far away. It entered Wu Yan and Silica's ears. Wu Yan frowned and looked at the source of the voice. Silica seemed to recognize the owner of the voice. When she heard the voice, her expression darkened. When the two looked at the source of the voice, they saw a tall, sexy, red-haired female player walking towards them with 3 male players. Silica lowered her head when she saw the person. It seemed like she didn't want to see the other party. However, Wu Yan was stunned for a moment before he smiled. Rosalia, the player who teamed up with Silica and swallowed Silica's loot. It was also because of Rosalia that Silica did not have a healing item at the critical moment when she was facing the 3 gorillas, which led to Pina's death. In a way, the person who caused Silica's death was Rosalia. However, Wu Yan was more concerned about Rosalia's other identity. The guild leader of Titan's Hand. Chapter 662. Rosalia didn't know she was being watched. Or rather, she didn't pay attention to Wu Yan who was standing beside Silica. Her attention was completely focused on Silica. I didn't think you'd be able to leave the forest safely. Rosalia walked up to Silica and gave her a sidelong glance. That's great. Even though she said that, Rosalia's tone didn't sound like she was rejoicing for Silica at all. Instead, it sounded very sarcastic. Silica lowered her head, she didn't even dare to look at Rosalia. It's not that she was afraid, it's just that she could already imagine how Rosalia would mock her. Oh, where's that lizard of yours? Rosalia's face was filled with bewilderment. She couldn't help but laugh. Could it be, Pina's dead? Silica's expression dimmed but she quickly raised her head with determination. But I'll bring Pina back to life. Oh. Rosalia's gloating smile froze on her face. A strange light flashed in her eyes as she looked at Silica. So, you're thinking of going to the Hill of Memories? Wu Yan, who's been observing Rosalia from the side, could clearly hear the excitement in her voice when she mentioned the Hill of Memories. It was as if something good was about to happen. It's just that other than Wu Yan, no one else noticed it. Wu Yan narrowed his eyes, he looked at Rosalia with contempt as if he was looking at a clown. Of course, no one noticed it either. Rosalia rolled her eyes and moved her head closer to Silica. She had a disgusting smile on her face, she looked like a jealous woman. But, with your low level, do you think you can get to the 47th floor? Rosalia's words hit Silica right where it hurt. Her lips trembled but she calmed down when she thought of the equipment Wu Yan gave her. I can do it. There was an indescribable tenacity in her voice, causing Rosalia to be stunned. And I'm not alone. Silica hugged Wu Yan's arm. She yelled out. Wu Yan-san will accompany me. Wu Yan. Rosalia narrowed her eyes and finally looked at Wu Yan. When she saw Wu Yan's black coat and black greatsword, she panicked. When she saw that Wu Yan didn't have a single familiar with him, she sighed in relief. Then, she laughed mockingly. Era, do you think you can conquer the Hill of Memories with the help of someone who looks like the Fey swordsman? Rosalia said maliciously, be careful not to get your teammates killed because of you. Of course not. Silica shouted angrily, Mr. Wu Yan is very strong. Is that so? Rosalia sneered. She didn't hold back just because Wu Yan was there. She didn't hide her malice at all. You're just a fool. Do you think you can be as strong as the Fey swordsman just because you dress like him? He has an Fey-tamed monster, not that lizard that died so easily. Rosalia sneered, you should go to a town with more people. It's better to bask in the limelight of the Fey swordsman than to go out and die. Otherwise, it would be a waste of a name that is so similar to him. You. Silica hugged Wu Yan as tight as she could. Her red eyes were filled with rage. She was about to say something when Wu Yan, who had been watching from the sidelines, suddenly spoke up. Shili, have you always been teaming up with people like this? Silica was stunned. Unable to react in time, Rosalia furrowed her brows and she glared at Wu Yan with a vicious glare. What do you mean? Nothing. Wu Yan glanced at Rosalia. I'm just glad that Silica left your team. Is that so? Rosalia was so angry that she laughed. Didn't the lizard die because it left the team? Are you glad that the lizard didn't survive? Well, I guess it's a little annoying to be called all day long. Oh. Wu Yan opened his mouth in surprise. He smiled and said to Rosalia, so you do know that it's annoying to be called all day long? Rosalia's expression darkened and her eyes turned gloomy. If she still can't figure out that she's the one Wu Yan is referring to, she's going to die here and there. Mr. Wu Yan. Silica pulled Wu Yan's sleeve and shook her head. She didn't want Wu Yan to provoke Rosalia. For some reason, Silica had a bad feeling when she saw Rosalia's gloomy eyes. Wu Yan patted Silica's hand and pulled her toward the hotel without looking at Rosalia. Rosalia's gaze followed Wu Yan and Silica until they entered the hotel. She retracted her gaze. No one noticed that her lips are curling into a wicked grin. Rosalia didn't know that when Wu Yan turned around and left, the same smile appeared on Wu Yan's face. Wu Yan took Silica's hand and booked 2 rooms in the hotel. He then led the silent Silica upstairs to one of the rooms. Silica, you'll sleep here tonight. Wu Yan said to Silica, I'll sleep next door. If there's anything, Mr. Wu Yan. Silica suddenly opened her mouth and bowed to Wu Yan. I'm very sorry, I dragged you into this. If it wasn't for her, Wu Yan-san wouldn't have to endure Rosalia's mockery. Although Wu Yan won this round of verbal sparring, Silica still felt a little guilty. Wu Yan laughed and patted Silica's head. All right, don't mind it too much. In fact, this is what I wanted. Silica raised her head in confusion. She clearly didn't understand Wu Yan's words. Wu Yan naturally wouldn't tell Silica that he purposely angered Rosalia so that she wouldn't come looking for trouble tomorrow. Based on the original story, Rosalia would definitely come looking for them tomorrow. Who knows what kind of accident would happen? Wu Yan just gave her an extra push. If it weren't for the fact that he couldn't achieve his goal in the city, Wu Yan would have kicked Rosalia into jail long ago. Wu Yan could only tease Silica meaningfully and mysteriously. You'll know tomorrow, Silica nodded. She didn't ask any more questions. Since Wu Yan had his own plans, she didn't want to interfere. She wasn't worried that something unexpected would happen tomorrow. It would make Wu Yan feel the need to explain the cruel rules of this world to her. All right, you should go rest. Wu Yan said with a smile. Do you want something to eat? Silica said without hesitation. Cheesecake. Cheesecake. Wu Yan nodded. He opened his personal interface and searched for something in his inventory. I don't have any cheesecake, but I have the ingredients. Wait for me, I'll go downstairs and borrow the kitchen. Borrow the kitchen? Silica was surprised. She said with surprise, does Mr. Wu Yan have cooking skills? You can make cheesecake? Yeah. Wu Yan puffed out his chest. I'm not bragging, but there's no food in this world that I can't make. Really? Shili beamed with joy. Mr. Wu Yan is really amazing. I'd love to try the cheesecake here, but I'm sure Mr. Wu Yan's cheesecake is better than the ones here. Where do you get your confidence from? Wu Yan chuckled. He was a little annoyed. In Silica's eyes, someone who could make cheesecake was amazing. As her idol, he should be on the same level as cheesecake, right? Wonderful brush pavilion, no pop-up window, quick update, remember. Chapter 663. Aincrad's 47th floor, Floria. It's a beautiful world surrounded by flowers. Colorful flowers can be seen everywhere in this place. You can see them in every corner of this place. They've been cultivated into a beautiful landscape. Some of them have been circled into flower beds. Some of them have been pulled into flower paths. It's like a beautiful garden. You can smell the fragrance of flowers everywhere. It's refreshing. The colorful flowers swayed with the wind, and the petals danced in the air. Drops of pollen glowed faintly under the sunlight, like stars in the daytime, intertwining with the dancing petals in the air. Even those who were allergic to pollen would be subdued by such a scene if they came here. There are also insects crawling on some of the flowers, adding a touch of liveliness to this beautiful world of flowers. It's because of these little creatures that have no level but can't be destroyed that this place doesn't feel dead. After all, without liveliness, no matter how beautiful it is, it'll still feel fake. It's not an exaggeration to call this a world of flowers. The entire 47th floor is a world of flowers. There's not a single place without flowers. That's why the 47th floor is also known as the Garden of Flowers, because it's completely covered in flowers. A world filled with flowers. One can only imagine how beautiful this place is. Compared to Wu Yan's house on the 22nd floor, this place isn't inferior at all. When Wu Yan was planning to buy a place to live, he thought of the 47th floor and the 47th floor. Both the 22nd floor and the 47th floor were within his consideration. Both places are so beautiful that it's hard to believe that they don't exist in the real world. If you can live in these two places, you'll be in a good mood every day. It's a pity that the 47th floor is a world of flowers for couples. It's a rare romantic world. Therefore, the moment the 47th floor was cleared, it became the best dating spot for couples in Sao. Although it's filled with a pink atmosphere, it's not as peaceful as the 22nd floor. Wu Yan decided to go to the 22nd floor instead of the tranquility of the 22nd floor. When Shili appeared at the entrance of the portal, she was instantly captivated by this dreamlike place. Her little face was full of joy. She looked around and even ran around. She looked around and squatted down from time to time to sniff the flowers. Coupled with her cute face, she looks like a dancing fairy. Wu Yan couldn't help but smile. Wu Yan closed his eyes as he walked down the portal. He took a deep breath of the flower-scented air. His face looked very comfortable. Even though he's been here many times and gave up on the idea of living here, Wu Yan has never hated this place. On the contrary, he's been living in the forest for a long time now. Wu Yan sometimes, it's not a bad idea to live here. Even Wu Yan is like this. Shili, who has never been here before, smiled so much that her eyes squinted. She looked at the flowers everywhere. She wanted to reach out and pick one, but she didn't want to hurt these beautiful things. Her little face twisted. It seems like she's completely immersed in this beautiful world. It wasn't until the couples around her entered Shili's eyes that she abruptly woke up. Looking at the men and women intimately leaning against each other, her young girl's sensitive heart immediately understood what kind of place this was. Shili's face slowly turned red. She secretly glanced at Wu Yan, then she looked away as if she was flattered. Her pink face was full of shyness. It's obvious that she's in love with Wu Yan. Wu Yan looked at Shili with a strange smile on his face. He moved his face closer to Shili's. Oh. You're blushing. Do you want to date me here like a couple? Shili cried out in surprise. Her originally pink face suddenly turned bright red. She couldn't get any redder. Looking at the face so close to her, Shili felt a little dizzy. She stammered, no, well, what's there to be shy about? Seeing this scene, I'm afraid any girl would have the same idea. Wu Yan smiled mischievously. I just didn't expect Shili to have such bad thoughts at such a young age. I'm not a little girl. Shili raised her blushing face with an embarrassed expression. Not young? Wu Yan's eyes uncontrollably moved to a certain part of Shili's body, then he couldn't help but sigh. You. Where are you looking at? Shili raised her hands in front of her chest, her embarrassed expression turned into shame and anger. Mr. Wu Yan, you're a bad guy. Okay, don't be angry. Wu Yan hurriedly waved his hand. He didn't want to tease Shili and make her angry. His rich experience told him that no matter how gentle a girl is, when she's angry, she'll do things that she wouldn't dare to do normally, and things that she wouldn't dare to do normally would happen. It's best if he didn't step on a landmine. Then, Wu Yan's expression softened. He extended his hand to Shili. Want to have a short date? Shili was shocked, looking at Wu Yan's hand and the gentle expression on his face. Her heart beat faster, her face flushed red. She subconsciously raised one hand to her chest and clenched it into a fist. Like a little girl in love, she was a little timid and panicked. After a long time, Shili finally plucked up her courage. She reached her hand into Wu Yan's and held it, her eyes flashing with indescribable splendor. Holding Shili's hand, Wu Yan looked at Shili's blushing face. He couldn't help but ask, Shili, is this your first time holding hands with a boy? Shili lowered her head. She didn't answer Wu Yan, but when he saw her neck turning red, how could Wu Yan not know the truth? For the first time, Wu Yan felt like he was a sinner. Although the entire 47th floor was covered in flowers, it wasn't to the point where there were no flowers. Setting aside the town, there must be buildings in addition to flowers. There are also roads in the wilderness. It's just that they're surrounded by flower beds. There are traces of flowers everywhere. Walking on a road accompanied by flowers, sometimes people will even subconsciously let down their guard, completely forgetting that there are monsters in the wilderness, just like Wu Yan and Shili. Wu Yan was fine, at least he still paid attention to his surroundings, but Shili couldn't. In such a beautiful world, holding hands with a boy she has feelings for, Shili's heart has already flown to the ends of the earth. Later on, several vine monsters wrapped around her hands and feet with their vines, making her look like an innocent girl who has been touched by a tentacle. Of course, in Wu Yan's eyes, it's a feast for the eyes. Fortunately, the monsters on the 47th floor are super weak to Wu Yan. They're no threat to him at all. It's the same for Shili. After equipping Wu Yan's equipment, Shili's level is a bit lower, but her stats are better than those monsters. As long as she doesn't encounter a boss or a labyrinth, Shili can easily move around on the 50th floor. After an unknown amount of time, the top of the memory hill finally appeared in front of them. When Shili ran to the end of the stone platform, a white flower bloomed at a speed visible to the naked eye. With a warm glow, it displayed its beauty. Shili plucked the flower and held it in front of her chest as if it was a precious treasure. Looking at the flower in her hand, Shili murmured, if this is the case, Pina can be revived. Wu Yan nodded with a smile, then his smile gradually turned cold. The fish on my side has also taken the bait. Shili was stunned. Before she could react, Wu Yan turned around and said indifferently. Come out, wonderful brush pavilion, no pop-up window, quick update, remember. Chapter 664. Come out, a cold and indifferent voice reverberated in the surroundings, spreading in all directions. As the voice rang out, the temperature of the surroundings, which was filled with warmth due to the flowers, dropped at an extremely fast speed, replaced by a coldness that couldn't be ignored. Shili's heart clenched tightly in her chest. What's wrong with you? The surroundings are quiet, there aren't any sounds. Other than the flowers, there are only trees in this place. Silica looked around but she didn't find anything out of the ordinary, so she turned towards Wu Yan. At this moment, a blurry figure moved gently from behind a tree. The sound of footsteps attracted Silica's attention. Silica saw Rosalia, who had been bullying her all this time, walk out from behind the tree. Miss Rosalia. Silica was shocked. Rosalia smiled. Her smile was unusually happy. I didn't expect you to see through my concealment. Looks like your detection skill is quite high. Skill? Wu Yan smirked. No, you're wrong. Although my search skill is not low, I really didn't use it to discover you this time. The smile on Rosalia's face froze, and she frowned. You didn't use detection to find me? Then how did you find me? Rather than a discovery, it is more like a prediction. Wu Yan crossed his arms in front of his chest and he looked at Rosalia with a nonchalant expression. I knew you'd show up here sooner or later. Rosalia's expression darkened. What do you mean? It's simple. In Celica's surprised eyes. Wu Yan looked at Rosalia. I've been coming for you since the beginning. Rosalia's expression changed. From the moment she appeared until now, the look in her eyes as if she was looking at a prey also disappeared. Vaguely, she had a bad premonition. Rosalia's heart was filled with emotions. Wu Yan-san. Celica looked at Wu Yan in shock. Well, it's hard to explain. I don't have the patience. Wu Yan shrugged and looked in another direction. So, I'll let someone else explain it to you. Celica and Rosalia were both startled. At the same time, a sigh suddenly sounded, startling them. They turned to look at the source of the sigh and saw that it was coming from a woman. A black figure with a sword on his back slowly walked up to them. I can't believe you made it in time. Wu Yan rolled his eyes. If you came any later, I would have been able to deal with you. Fortunately, I made it in time. The figure smiled and looked at the surprised Rosalia. Otherwise, wouldn't I have lost the bet between us? Someone came. It was Kirito. You. Rosalia looked back and forth between Wu Yan and Kirito. Her eyes darkened. You guys are in cahoots? You can say that. After all, you're our target. Kirito smiled at Rosalia. Rosalia-san, don't. Kirito's expression turned serious. The leader of the Orange Guild, Titan's Hand, Orange Guild. Celica couldn't help but take half a step back. She looked at Rosalia, who had a wicked smile on her face, and said in disbelief, But she's a green name. Ah, that's true. Kirito said softly. As the leader of a guild, she doesn't need to do anything herself. I think Rosalia-san is looking for prey and bringing them to her orange companions. That's why her name is green, right? Upon hearing that, Rosalia raised her head, and her expression turned sinister. You knew everything, yet you came here alone. I can't believe you're willing to go this far. I had no choice. Kirito sighed. Well, it's my fault for accepting someone else's request. That's right. Kirito narrowed his eyes and glared at Rosalia. 10 days ago, you attacked the Silver Flag Guild and killed everyone except the guild master. You can't have forgotten about this matter, right? Silver Flag? Rosalia nodded thoughtfully. So it's those poor bastards. The leader of Silver Flag has been at the frontline plaza since then, crying and begging for someone to avenge them. Kirito's voice turned cold as he recalled how the leader of Silver Flag begged for help. He didn't want anyone to kill you, he wanted to send you to prison. Do you understand his feelings? I don't understand at all. Rosalia didn't feel guilty at all. Instead, she mocked him. Is he an idiot? In any case, no one can prove that he's really dead even if he kills someone. Kirito's eyes narrowed. He took a deep breath. It's obvious that he's angry now. It seems like I'll have to teach you a lesson. Teach you a lesson? Rosalia was amused by Kirito's words. She couldn't help but giggle. Do you think you can do it? After saying that, Rosalia shouted to the people around her. What are you waiting for? Come out. What she got in response was a series of thuds and screams. When Rosalia came back to her senses, she saw familiar figures flying out from behind the trees. They crashed into the ground in front of her and stacked on top of each other. They're the other members of Titan's Hand, Rosalia's companions. What? Looking at her subordinates who were stacked in front of her with their HP remaining in the red zone, Rosalia was truly shocked this time. At this moment, a hand reached out from behind Rosalia and pressed on her shoulder. As you wish, they're out. Wu Yan's voice came from behind Rosalia. She broke out in cold sweat. But I did help them. You don't have to thank me. As soon as her voice subsided, Rosalia's body flew up into the air, and the world spun around her. She fell from the air and landed on the top of the Titan's hand members who were stacked on top of each other. Wu Yan clapped his hands and stepped forward. It's done. Hey. Kirito's face fell. He turned to Wu Yan and complained. You cheated. Who's acting shamelessly? Wu Yan straightened his back like it's only natural. You were the one who stood there and didn't do anything. How could I turn down such a good opportunity? You. Kirito didn't know what to say. He finally understood why Wu Yan asked him to come out and explain himself. You. Rosalia, who was at the top of the pile of people, shouted unwillingly, Who are you people? Wu Yan and Kirito looked at each other and smiled. Elven swordsman Wu Yan. Black swordsman Kirito. Wah. Rosalia looked at Wu Yan and Kirito in disbelief. Her face turned pale. She opened her mouth but no words came out. In the end, she lowered her head. Elven swordsman. Silica looked at Wu Yan in a daze. The thousands of words in her heart turned into complicated emotions. Wu Yan walked up to Silica and he patted her little head with a smile. What's wrong? You don't believe me? No. Silica shook her head. She looked at Wu Yan hesitantly. Are you really the elven swordsman? I've never hidden my identity. Wu Yan smiled. You were the one who denied my identity last night. Silica's face turned red. She lowered her head and didn't dare to look at Wu Yan again. Wu Yan rubbed her head in amusement. He looked at Silica's face and after thinking for a bit, he squatted down and looked into Silica's eyes. Hey, Silica. Wu Yan tilted his head and smiled. Do you want to join the clearers? Silica was stunned. Wondrous Brush Pavilion, no pop-up window, quick update, remember. Chapter 665. Aincrad's 50th floor, inside a hotel, Silica was holding a cup anxiously, her hands kept rubbing the surface of the cup. Her red eyes stared at the entrance of the hotel, then turned to Wu Yan in front of her with a nervous expression. Hey, Wu Yan and I-san. Silica pursed her lips, there was a trace of worry in her eyes. Am I really going to be okay? Well, relax. Wu Yan calmly took a sip of his drink. Seeing Silica's nervous expression, he comforted her. Don't worry, you can do it, but... Silica didn't relax at all, she looked even more worried, she even lowered her head. A player like me joining the clearers, don't underestimate yourself. Wu Yan patted the revived Pina in Silica's arms and said with a smile. Pina is a very rare tamed monster with healing abilities. A tamed monster like her can save countless lives in the front line. I believe there's no one who wouldn't want a tamed monster like her. If it weren't for your low level, the clearers would have scrambled to recruit you. But my level is too low, isn't it? Silica said in a low voice. Won't I be a burden if I'm like this? Level is a small matter. If you want to level up, you can level up at any time. Besides, I'm not asking you to join the frontline right away. Even if you join the frontline, you won't be a burden. Seeing Silica's lack of confidence, Wu Yan patted her little head. As long as you level up, Silica will be able to help a lot. Plus, you'll have a lot of companions with you, she won't be a burden, she can help a lot, and most importantly, she'll have companions. No matter how uneasy Silica was, she couldn't help but be tempted. In the past, Silica had a lot of companions. She formed a lot of parties and joined a lot of teams. There were also a lot of people who invited her. However, all of these people treated her like a mascot. He didn't treat her as a friend at all. In addition, Shili's combat power was not very strong, so although she had formed a lot of teams, she was still very weak. However, none of them were able to stay for long. For such a long time in the game, Silica was like Wu Yan. She had been alone the whole time. If it wasn't for Pina's company, Silica would have been in a lot of pain as an underage girl wandering around in a world where she could die at any time. Shili also hoped that she could have a partner who treated her with sincerity. She also hoped that she could be of great help and not be as useless as she was in the past when she was immersed in the title of Dragon Envoy. It was also because of this that when Wu Yan saved her and sincerely wanted to help her, Shili chose to trust him without hesitation. Now, not only will she have the opportunity to join the clearers that all players idolize, but she will also have a partner. She couldn't help but look forward to it, but it's also because of this that Shili is so nervous. She's like an ugly daughter-in-law meeting her parents-in-law. Her heart is beating fast, there's not a moment when she's not worried. While Shili was waiting anxiously, at some point, two slender figures walked in from the entrance of the hotel. They were wearing very ordinary casual clothes. None of their equipment was eye-catching. However, when the two of them walked into the inn, they immediately attracted the attention of most of the players. That was because their looks were enough to make their ordinary casual clothes shine. As soon as they walked into the hotel, they looked around and glanced at each table. It wasn't until they saw Wu Yan sitting in the corner with Shili that their eyes lit up and a smile appeared on their faces. Oni-chan. Yen. Wu Yan and Shili heard a crisp voice calling out to them, attracting their attention. When Wu Yan saw the two figures, Wu Yan smiled. Xing, Xian, you're here, they're Xing and Xian. As soon as we received your mail, we came over immediately. How about it? It's an honor, right? Xian ran up to Wu Yan and put her hands on her hips. She looked like she was saying, I'm good to you, you have to thank me. This made Wu Yan feel helpless. I know what happened. Xing greeted Wu Yan and then looked at the nervous Shili. She tilted her head and smiled. You're Shili, right? You're just as Oni-chan said, you're very cute. Shili's face immediately turned red. She stood up in a panic and bowed to Sachi. Hello, I'm Shili. After that, she lifted Pina up from her arms. This is Pina, Ing. Pina called out spiritually. It was as if she was greeting someone, which made people feel fond of her. Xing and Xian looked at the cute girl and pet in front of them. They immediately had a good impression of Shili, the smiles on their faces deepened. Hey, Shili. Xian ran up to Shili and stared at Pina, her eyes twinkling like stars. Can I hug it? Before Shili could answer, Pina quickly shook her head and shrunk her body into Shili's arms. Everyone knew what she was thinking when they saw her reaction. This. Shili felt awkward. She looked at Pina in her arms and apologized to Xian. I'm sorry, Pina doesn't seem to like other people hugging it, why is that? Xian didn't hide her disappointment, she pouted and looked unhappy, but she didn't ask for anything else. She made a face at Shili and turned her head away angrily. Wu Yan and Sachi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Sachi, what do you think? Wu Yan pushed Shili in front of Sachi and smiled. Can you let Shili join the Moonlit Black Cats? Sachi hasn't picked up a weapon for a long time. Her personality made her unsuitable for the battlefield. After the Moonlit Black Cats grew stronger, Suda didn't let Sachi join the battle anymore. Instead, he let Sachi handle the affairs of the Moonlit Black Cats. She's in charge of the guild's affairs. This was exactly what Sachi wanted. She wasn't someone who liked to fight. If possible, she wanted to live a peaceful life. Hence, she didn't object. Currently, other than the frontline matters, Sachi was in charge of almost everything in the Black Cat clan, including recruiting members. That's why Wu Yan asked Sachi to recruit Silica into the Moonlit Black Cats. He didn't know if Silica would become a useful member of the clearers, but at the very least, he didn't want Silica to have to fight alone in a low-leveled area. That way, he wouldn't feel at ease. Shili became even more nervous after hearing Wu Yan's words. She hugged Pina even tighter. Pina seemed to have sensed her master's mood. She looked up at Shili and said something to comfort her. Sachi looked at Silica and smiled at her. Joining the Moonlit Black Cats won't be a problem, although the guild's recruitment criteria is strict. Shili has Pina. I believe no one will object to her joining the guild. Shili's face lit up. That means, if you want to join the frontline clearers, Silica, you still need to work hard. Sachi said gently, but if it's just joining the moonlit black cats, that's not a problem, I'll agree. Really? Shili looked at Sachi expectantly. She couldn't help but cheer when she saw Sachi nodding with a smile. She threw herself into Wu Yan's arms. That's great. Oh, Sachi and Xian let out a long, oh, sound. They looked at Wu Yan with an ambiguous gaze. Wu Yan smiled embarrassedly. He quickly made a gesture to show that he and Shili are innocent. As for whether other people believe it or not, that's their business. Wondrous Brush Pavilion, no pop-up window, quick update, remember. Chapter 666. While Wu Yan, Silica, Sachi, and Xian are having a good time chatting, Kirito is having a hard time. Huh? Inside an item store, Agile, Kirito's friend, couldn't believe his ears when he heard Kirito's words. You want me to contact Asuna? Agile looked at Kirito with a strange look. Even his expression became strange. Aren't you always at odds with her? As a member of the Clearers, Agile had seen Kirito and Asuna quarrel more than once in the Clearers meeting. Everyone in the Clearers knew that the relationship between the two was a bit bad. Asuna was known as the Ghost of Strategy, but she was also known as the Berserker. Sometimes, Asuna's methods were unsatisfactory. For example, she lured the boss from outside the safe zone into the safe zone and let the boss attack the NPCs while the players attacked the boss. Even if the NPCs weren't alive, they would still come back to life after a while. Even Kirito didn't agree with this method. Kirito and Asuna had conflicts more than once, and they even had a big fight during the strategy meeting. Now that Kirito took the initiative to contact Asuna, how could Agile not be surprised? Even the black swordsman, Kirito fell for, flash Asuna's charm. Is that why he wants to pursue her? Thinking of this, Agile looked at Kirito with a strange expression. Kirito saw this. Kirito's eyes were glaring. What are you thinking? Kirito sighed helplessly. I just want to ask her something, is that so? Agile glanced at Kirito suspiciously. But when he thought about his friend's unsociable personality, Agile felt that his guess was unrealistic. He nodded. All right, I'll help you contact her. Then, he said. Agile couldn't help but say something. Seriously, we're all clearers, can't you just add her as a friend? Kirito patted his head and said as if he had a headache, you know, I'm not that close with her. Although we teamed up once to clear the first floor's boss, I'm not that close with her. But who would have thought that she would join the Knights of the Blood and become the Ghost of Strategy? At this point, Kirito raised his head and narrowed his eyes as if he was thinking of something. But lately, Asuna's strategy seems to be different from before. Agile stopped what he was doing and furrowed his dark brows. Indeed. In the past, Asuna would even come up with the idea of having the boss slaughter NPCs for the sake of clearing the dungeon. Her strategy doesn't seem to be that extreme anymore. Most of the time, she's following the rules. Her strategy is steady, just like. She doesn't seem to be in a hurry to clear the floor. Kirito suddenly said. Yeah. That's right. Agile punched his fist in the palm of his hand and rubbed his chin. Why is there such a sudden change? Well. Who knows? Kirito leaned on the counter and said casually. Maybe it's because of the title of Berserker. Despite what he said, Kirito had a feeling that there was something else that caused Asuna's change. He couldn't help but recall what happened after he sent the Titan's hand to the prison. Help you find a weapon that suits you? Kirito was confused when he heard Wu Yan's request. He glanced at the heaven gazer on Wu Yan's back. Hasn't your weapon been with you all this time? Didn't you strengthen it until now? Why do you suddenly want a suitable weapon? Can't your weapon keep up with your growth? That's not it. Wu Yan scratched his cheek and said helplessly. The heaven gazer has been with me for a long time. I spent a lot of money to modify it, so of course it can keep up with my growth. But there's only one heaven gazer, and I don't have another weapon that can rival it. Another weapon? Kirito frowned and suddenly thought of something. Oh right, you have the dual sword skill, so you can equip 2 weapons. That's it. Wu Yan sighed and said. The problem with the other weapon has been bothering me for a long time. I searched everywhere but couldn't find a suitable weapon. So I have to ask you, no wonder you made a bet with me. Kirito's mouth twitched. So that's what you were thinking. Well, you have more connections than I do. Wu Yan smiled and patted Kirito's shoulder. I don't know who else to ask other than you. Don't you have a good relationship with the moonlit black cats? Kirito turned around and looked at Wu Yan. It shouldn't be hard to ask them to help you find a good blacksmith, right? You're right, I had the same idea. Wu Yan said with a bright smile on his face. Who knew I'd run into you? Kirito choked on his words and became annoyed. I'm a lone wolf, I have some connections but they're not that good. Did you ask the wrong person? Wu Yan narrowed his eyes and stared at Kirito's face. Kirito-san, are you trying to renege on your promise? No. Kirito said with embarrassment. But I don't know any good blacksmiths, that's easy. Wu Yan rolled his eyes and he said something shocking to Kirito. I heard Asuna has a blacksmith friend, go ask her for help, she might be able to point you in the right direction. What? Asuna? Kirito almost couldn't catch his breath. He couldn't help but take a step back. Don't you know I don't have a good relationship with her? I'm just asking her where her friend is. Wu Yan smiled awkwardly. Even if you don't have a good relationship with her, she won't refuse such a simple request, right? Then why don't you ask her yourself? Wu Yan's smile froze on his face and his expression turned unnatural. Should he tell Kirito that he didn't dare? That would make him a laughing stock. Under Kirito's scrutinizing gaze, Wu Yan stuttered for a bit. He didn't know what to say and he started getting angry. Cut the crap. That's what you lost to me. Are you going to help me or not? Kirito sucked in a deep breath. His shoulders slumped as he glanced at Wu Yan's angry face. He had no choice but to say this in a helpless manner. I got it, Wu Yan grinned from ear to ear. Then I'll leave this glorious mission to you. Kirito recalled Wu Yan's stuttering and his intuition told him that Wu Yan didn't go to Asuna himself and Asuna changed her mind. There must be something going on between the two, it should be. Kirito pondered for a while and smiled bitterly. Since when did he become so nosy? What happened to them had nothing to do with him. He just needed to finish what he had promised to do. It's done. Agile put away his interface and looked at Kirito. I've contacted Asuna. What do you think? Do you want to ask her out? I don't think so. Kirito quickly refused. Just ask her something for me. I'll ask her. Agile pointed at his nose and said in a weird tone. Is it okay for me to know? I told you, it's not what you think. Kirito glanced at Agile. Fine, what do you want to ask? Help me ask if she has a blacksmith friend. Friend? What? Is there a problem? I say, Kirito, don't tell me you're going to ask Asuna's friend because you know it's hopeless. I told you, it's not what you think. Wondrous Brush Pavilion, no pop-up window, quick update, remember. Chapter 667. What? Would he have to wait a little longer? Wu Yan was surprised when he saw Kirito's email. He frowned for a moment before relaxing. Why? Did Asuna really not introduce her friend to you? She did, but there was a small accident. Kirito replied. What accident? Basically, Asuna's friend is really good at forging weapons, but unfortunately, a certain someone's request is beyond her ability. Wu Yan could see Kirito's annoyance from the email. Since her forging skill needs to be improved, I have to wait for her to level up before I can forge the weapon. No way. Wu Yan couldn't help but feel aggrieved. If that's the case, I might as well look for her myself. Maybe it'll be faster. Actually, it won't take long. If you can't afford to wait, you can try to find one yourself. But don't blame me for reminding you, at this stage, there aren't many weapons that can match your Heaven Gazer. Even if you ask a blacksmith to forge it, I'm afraid the result will be the same. After all, Liz's forging skill is one of the best in SAO. Indeed, although the progress of SAO's raid is pretty good, and the players and crafting classes are almost fully developed, it's still not enough. Most of the players' equipment can be provided by the blacksmiths, but Wu Yan isn't one of them. Wu Yan can only blame himself for being too strong. As the strongest player in SAO, he has the highest requirement for equipment. To be honest, there aren't many pieces of equipment that can meet his requirements at this stage. If Wu Yan didn't have that set of equipment, he wouldn't be able to reach this level. If he relied on his crafting class to be self-sufficient, Wu Yan's equipment would be at least one level lower. Of course, Wu Yan can also find a good weapon and spend a lot of money to upgrade it to the same level as the Heaven Gazer. But since he has to find one, of course, he's looking for a weapon with a decent base value. Wouldn't it be better than using those trash weapons to enhance them? That's why Wu Yan got the Heaven Gazer, because of his luck. That's why he got such a good weapon on the first floor. Wu Yan couldn't refute Kirito's words. He decided to wait a little longer. It's better than running around looking for wild bosses to test his luck, isn't it? Also, there aren't many bosses that can meet Wu Yan's requirements. Testing his luck isn't just for show. It's a good thing that Wu Yan hasn't been forced to use Dual Blade Ryu yet. With his current strength, even without Dual Blade Ryu, he'll be able to get by pretty well. If it gets to the point where I have to use it, I'll have to use some backup weapons. I'm just afraid they'll break at a critical moment. Wu Yan laughed self-deprecatingly. He's gone through the hardships that are unique to players. Should he be happy? Or a disaster? But when he thought about Silica's progress, Wu Yan's mood improved a lot. Now, Shili had joined the Moonlit Black Cats and become a member. Due to the rarity of tamers, Silica's level is a bit low. But since it was Wu Yan who recommended her to join the Moonlit Black Cats, Suda and the others took extra care of Silica, especially Sachi and Cheyenne. The two girls even wanted Silica to join them. In just a few days, the relationship between the three of them has improved tremendously. They're even calling each other sister. Wu Yan can't help but marvel at how familiar girls can be with each other. Right now, the Moonlit Black Cats had already sent some high-level players to help Silica level up. Once Silica matured, her title as the Dragon Envoy would become another attraction on the front lines. Perhaps she could even compete with Asuna. In the original work, Silica's potential was neglected. She had a precious regenerative tamed monster that could be a powerful support. But she only showed up a few times before she disappeared. Until the end of SAO, she was just a bystander. It's such a waste of an excellent priest. Wu Yan told Kirito to bring him his weapon when he's done. Then, he put away his character interface. As for the materials and money, that's Kirito's problem. Who told him to lose a bet with him? Although he's suspected of using the original work to trick him, well, it's not like Kirito is short on money. Wu Yan said. He's taking pleasure in Kirito's misfortune. It's not like he's doing anything wrong. Unfortunately, before he could finish gloating, an email appeared in front of him, causing him to lose his composure. Did you tell that guy to come to me and introduce Liz to him? Wu Yan's face stiffened. He didn't even need to look at the sender to know that it's from Asuna. Wu Yan took a deep breath and cursed in his mind. Then, he burst into tears. It seems like Kirito sold him out. Wu Yan had no choice but to reply. Kirito told you that? You're such a liar. As soon as he sent the email, Asuna's reply appeared in front of him. Since you know that I have a good blacksmith friend, why didn't you come to me directly? Asuna's question is obviously her main concern. Otherwise, she wouldn't have replied so quickly. Wu Yan's face fell. He wanted to cry but no tears came out. He wanted to know what's wrong with him. Why didn't he just contact Asuna? Is it because he's afraid of contacting Asuna? How is that possible? Since someone is willing to work for me for free, wouldn't it be a waste if I don't make use of it? After replying, Wu Yan stood there in a daze for a long time. Why do I feel like I'm being too arrogant? Wu Yan didn't know how Asuna felt after reading the email. He waited for a long time but didn't receive a reply. This made Wu Yan feel a little uneasy. This Asuna, is she mad at me, right? This thought flashed through Wu Yan's mind. Asuna might look majestic on the surface, but she can be more childish than anyone else. Otherwise, she wouldn't have bitten him for half the night when he mocked her for thinking too much. Wu Yan pursed his lips and thought for a long time. He still didn't receive a reply from Asuna. He sighed and sent an email. Fine, it's my fault. Tell me, how can I make it up to Asuna-sama to forgive me? Asuna seemed to have been waiting for Wu Yan to say that. She quickly replied after being quiet for a while. 10 dishes. Wu Yan almost died from shock. Are you serious? Have you forgotten what happened to you the last time you ate 12 dishes? Last time, the two had a cooking duel. Since Wu Yan won, Asuna turned the pain of losing into appetite. She ate all 12 dishes made by Wu Yan and ended up with a bloated stomach. She didn't go home that night and stayed at Wu Yan's place for the night. Wu Yan wanted to complain about how Asuna still has the energy to bite him even though her stomach is so bloated that she can't go back. It's not that Wu Yan can't make 10 dishes, he's just worried that Asuna won't be able to finish them. That's more than enough to fill the stomachs of Toka and Astria. From a certain perspective, Asuna is considered a god. Wu Yan didn't know what Asuna's expression was when she saw his email. He felt like he had to wait for another long time. If he doesn't agree to her request, she won't reply to him even if she dies. Alright, I'll agree to it. Wu Yan collapsed as if he used up all his strength. He was speechless. Women are the hardest to deal with. Chapter 668. It's nighttime. As soon as he got home, Wu Yan went straight to the kitchen, made all 10 dishes that he promised Asuna, and placed them on the dining table. The cooking process in Sao was simplified by a lot. It only took Wu Yan 10 minutes to cook all 10 dishes. Wu Yan also increased the durability of the dishes to the maximum. Therefore, the dishes would still be steaming hot even if they were to be served the next day. There's no refrigerator in Sao to keep the dishes warm. Just like equipment, the dishes here have a certain durability, but the durability of the equipment is consumed by usage, while the durability of the dishes is consumed by time. Once the time is up, the dishes will disappear and turn into pieces. Because of this, most chefs wouldn't make a lot of dishes, they would only make them when needed. Otherwise, he would have taken out all the ingredients in his item bar and made them into dishes and put them in his item bar. That way, he wouldn't have to go through the trouble of cooking for himself every day, once and for all. After making the dishes, Wu Yan went to the sofa, sat down, opened his personal interface, and tapped a few times. A piece of paper appeared in front of him out of thin air and fell into his hand. After pouring a cup of black tea, Wu Yan took a sip while glancing at the paper. After a while, he stopped. Wow, I actually cleared the level again. The clearer seemed to be working really hard recently. Although he said that, Wu Yan's face was filled with dissatisfaction. The reward for killing the floor boss is recognized as the highest among all the floor bosses. If Wu Yan killed the floor boss alone, he would have leveled up several times. But if the clearers killed the floor boss, the reward would have been divided equally among all the clearers, and there wouldn't be much left. Of course, the reward for killing the floor boss is secondary. The most important thing is that the clearers found the floor boss's room before him. This made Wu Yan very unhappy. It can't be helped, the more people there are, the better. Wu Yan can't find the floor boss's room by himself, no matter how strong he is, it's useless. Could it be that Asuna is in a good mood because she cleared another dungeon today and decided to have a good meal with me? Wu Yan seriously doubted it. Compared to the reason why he's angry, the above reason should be more reasonable. I fell into the trap. Wu Yan bitterly smiled. Tossing the matter of clearing the dungeon to the back of his mind, he started skimming through the paper again. When he didn't find any useful information, he tossed the paper back onto the table. It seems that I need to work harder. Wu Yan's quest was to clear all 100 floors of Aincrad. He didn't say he had to do it himself. Even if he had to kill the 100th floor's boss, he would have to do it himself. Wu Yan's quest is considered complete since it's another player who took down Sao. This is understandable. No matter how good Wu Yan is, he can't clear all 100 floors by himself. After all, there are so many players in the game, the more the merrier. There are always some things that Wu Yan can't do. For example, the floor boss's room is not easy to find. In other words, even if Wu Yan is waiting for his death in Sao, he will still be able to clear the floor boss's room. If someone clears the floor boss's room, his compulsory quest will be completed. It sounds easy, he doesn't have to do anything himself, but with his personality, he's not going to just sit here and wait for others to clear the stage. Let's not talk about whether it's possible or not. Even if it's possible, he would have to spend quite a bit of time in this world. By that time, he wouldn't be able to fight monsters, he wouldn't be able to level up, and he wouldn't have any money. Without money, where would he find a place to stay for a few years? He needs money to stay in a hotel. Besides, Wu Yan is not the kind of person who will wait for others to clean up his mess. Even if he can't clear all the floors by himself, he will at least try his best. At least, he won't waste his time in the game. It's a pity that Shuju, Mikoto, and the others can't come with me. Wu Yan said regretfully. Knock knock knock, someone knocked on the door, waking up Wu Yan from his thoughts. Wu Yan stood up, walked to the door, and opened it. You're here, Wu Yan and I-san. I'm here to see you. Wu Yan's voice stopped abruptly, it was stuck in his throat. His eyes almost popped out of their sockets when he saw the petite figure waving at him with a smile. Silica! Wu Yan shouted. Why are you here? Silica scratched her cheeks in embarrassment, her face blushed. I heard from Sachi and I-san that the place you live is very beautiful, so I wanted to come and see. Silica stole a glance at Wu Yan, her eyes were a little wet, and her face was a little pitiful. I can't, haha. Wu Yan laughed dryly, then sighed. It's not that I can't, but I have a guest coming over tonight, and I'm a little surprised that you're here. A guest? Silica's twin ponytails moved like her ears, she looked at Wu Yan in surprise. Wu Yan and I-san, you have a guest. Sachi and I-san said that you never let anyone come over. How do I put this? It's a long story, so I won't explain. Wu Yan opened the door and stepped aside. Well, since you're here, there's no reason for you to come in vain. Come on in, we'll have dinner together later. Silica beamed as she ran into the room in a cheerful manner. Wu Yan found it hilarious. Wu Yan and I-san, this place is really beautiful. Everyone who comes here must first run to the window that looks like a door to look at the scenery outside. Silica did the same, her face was pressed against the glass, her eyes were shining. It's as beautiful as the garden of flowers on the 47th floor, but you should prefer the 47th floor, right? Sitting on the sofa, Wu Yan couldn't help but tease, it seems like girls prefer flowers and plants to forests and lakes, right? Silica. Upon hearing Wu Yan's words, Silica recalled the day when she held hands with Wu Yan on the 47th floor and went up the memory hill. Her pretty face blushed. It's not like that. Silica hugged Pina, who was on her head, and stammered, I like both of you, oh? Really? Wu Yan chuckled, his laughter was full of naughtiness. Why does it sound like you don't really mean it, Wu Yan and I-san? Silica yelled at Wu Yan in exasperation. She's too thin-skinned to take Wu Yan's teasing. If this goes on, she's going to run for her life. Okay, I won't tease you anymore. Wu Yan quickly waved his hand. Oh, Wu Yan chuckled when he saw Silica turning her head away in a huff. He sized her up and said, Silica, go change into some casual clothes, you don't need to wear any equipment here. Okay. Silica reluctantly left the window and went inside. Seeing this, Wu Yan pointed at a room. That room is a guest room, no one is staying there. Go change inside. In SAO, players don't need to go to the toilet at all, no matter how much food they eat or how much water they drink. Plus, players won't get dirty, so toilets, bathrooms, etc. Of course, if you're interested, you can also buy a bathroom and enjoy the feeling of bathing. But of course, if you're interested, you can also buy a bathroom and enjoy the bath. When Silica walked into the guest room, Wu Yan sighed, shook his head, leaned back on the sofa, and drank some black tea. Wu Yan glanced at the dishes on the table and muttered. Asuna should be here soon, right? Wu Yan looked at the door and scratched his head. I wonder what Asuna's expression will be when she sees Silica. She won't draw her sword right away, right? Wu Yan suddenly thought. I seem to be in a bit of danger. If you like this novel, you're welcome to vote for it. Your support is my biggest motivation. Mobile users, please go here. Wonderful brush pavilion, no pop-up window, quick update, remember. Chapter 669. It doesn't take a lot of time for players to change their equipment or clothes. They only need to click once and the equipment or clothes will be put on and taken off. However, there would be a 2 to 3 seconds when the player's clothes would be removed, revealing their undergarments. Therefore, most players would not change their equipment in front of others. No matter how short the time was, no one would be willing to let others see their bodies. This is a good thing for those who hate trouble. They only need to click once or twice and their clothes will be put on and taken off automatically. There's nothing more convenient than this. Not to mention, the clothes in SAO won't get dirty, so there's no need to wash them. When Silica came out of her room, she had changed into something that looked like a nightgown. She looked even cuter than usual. Wu Yan couldn't help but give her a sidelong glance. What's wrong? Silica seemed to be a little nervous. Her hands were clenched together, and her face was red. Don't I look good? Nah, she's pretty cute. Wu Yan commented with a smile. Then, he looked at Silica again. By the way, where's Pina? Didn't she go in with you? Pina fell asleep. Silica walked to the opposite side of Wu Yan and sat on the sofa. I saw a bed inside, so I let Pina sleep on it for the time being. I see. Wu Yan nodded and said with a sigh. What a magical tamed monster, it can even sleep. Look at my tamed monster, it can only fly around and heal me. It can't do anything else after it recovers my HP. I wonder what it would be like if it had a mind of its own. But Wu Yan, Sama's tamed monster is really powerful, right? Silica said enviously. Sister Xing said, that's right. Sister Xing said that Wu Yan, Sama's tamed monster is his right-hand man. If they have a tamed monster like that, they won't be afraid of the monsters. You won't be afraid of fighting those monsters, you're much stronger than Pina. Each has its own advantages and disadvantages. Wu Yan poured a cup of black tea and pushed it to Silica. Once Silica's level increases, Pina will become very powerful as well. Yes. I will do my best. Shili clenched her small fists, her fighting spirit soaring. Seeing her like this, Wu Yan was relieved. It seemed that Shili should be doing well in the moonlit black cats. If it was the old Shili, she would only doubt whether she could do it, instead of making up her mind to work hard. The only time she made up her mind to try was when Pina died. By the way, Shili, do they know that you're here? Big Sister Xing and Big Sister Shireen didn't know that I was coming here. I came here on my own. No wonder. The two of them have always wanted to visit me, but I'm usually not at home. I'm always at the front line. Unless they come at night. Then they'll come at night. That's easy for you to say. Which girl would come to a boy's house at night? She is Asuna, a member of the Knights of the Blood, Wu Yan then turned to Asuna and pointed at Shili. This is Shili, she just joined the Moonlit Black Cats. She might be your partner in the future, so you two should help each other, Asuna. Shili seemed to have remembered something, she exclaimed. Is this the Flash, Miss Asuna? Asuna smiled and waved at Shili. Nice to meet you, I am Asuna. Nice to meet you, nice to meet you too, Miss Asuna. Shili quickly stood up and spoke respectfully. Obviously, she respected Asuna a lot. This was to be expected. There were very few female players in SAO, and the number of female players who could make a name for themselves in SAO can be counted on one hand. The most famous one among them was Asuna. Asuna is one of the top players in SAO, she's the one in charge of the clearers, and she's also one of the top 5 female players in terms of looks. It's not an exaggeration to say that Asuna is the idol of all female players. After all, it's not easy for a female player to reach Asuna's level of fame. Asuna was startled for a moment when she saw Shili's cautious look, then she couldn't help but smile. Her impression of Shili suddenly improved. This Shili girl is quite cute. Wondrous brush pavilion, no pop-up window, quick update, remember. Chapter 670. Alright, let's have dinner. Wu Yan waved his hand at Asuna and Silica as he walked over to the table. It's already time for dinner, I'm starving. Did you make all these dishes yourself, Wu Yan NEI? Silica ran to the dining table and looked at the 10 delicacies on the table. Her eyes flashed with amazement. What a beautiful dish. I've been wanting to ask you this for a long time. Asuna looked at Wu Yan with a puzzled expression. The cooking program in SAO has been greatly simplified. How did you manage to make it look like this? That's right. This is my secret recipe, I won't let anyone else know. Wu Yan smiled proudly. It took me half a year to figure out how to make this dish. What do you think? Amazing, right? Amazing. Silica nodded her head repeatedly, but Asuna pouted and turned her head away. What's with that look of yours? Let's all sit down. Wu Yan ignored Asuna's sour words and he sat down. If I didn't increase the durability of these dishes, they would have gone cold by now. I didn't expect this to happen. Asuna sat down helplessly. In the past, although there would be a small celebration every time I cleared a level, I would always reject it. This time, I was supposed to reject it as well. Who knew that those people would directly go to the headquarters? Coincidentally, I didn't stay in the hotel but in the headquarters, so I was caught. That's because Ms. Asuna is too popular. Silica said softly. Everyone wants to celebrate with Ms. Asuna, just call me Asuna. Asuna said with a smile, then she sighed. That's true, but sometimes it's too troublesome, why don't you just move out? Wu Yan placed the tableware in front of Asuna and Silica, then he said to Asuna, it's time for you to buy a house, right? You can't always live in a hotel or a cold castle, a famous girl like you. It's bound to have some influence. I have the same plan. Asuna couldn't wait to raise her head. I've already gathered enough money, and I'm in the process of choosing a house. I should be able to have my own house in a few days. Hearing this, Silica could not help but feel envious. It's great to have my own house. Where does Silica usually live? Asuna looked at Silica curiously. Me? Silica lowered her head and said in embarrassment, I used to live in a hotel. She's living with Sister Xing and Sister Shireen now. Sachi and Cheyenne from the Moonlit Black Cats? Asuna frowned. It took her a while to remember Sachi and Cheyenne's faces. She nodded in relief. Sachi is the one who handles the internal affairs of the Moonlit Black Cats. She doesn't participate in the clearers meetings and missions, so Asuna and Cheyenne don't see each other often. Ever since Cheyenne became a professional alchemist, she didn't show her face in public. She spent most of her time with Sachi in the Moonlit Black Cats headquarters. The two of them lived a relaxed and happy life. Although Asuna didn't see Sachi and Cheyenne often, the two of them gave her a good impression. Asuna couldn't help but smile. It'll be fun if the three of you live together. Sachi was gentle and soft. Xian was cheerful and generous while Silica was lively and cute. It'll be fun if the three of them live together. Sister Xing and Sister Shireen are very nice to me. Silica nodded her head vigorously. No one treated me as well as they did before, so I'm very grateful to them. Wu Yan chuckled. He knows Sachi and Xian very well. He knows that they will take good care of Silica. That's why Silica felt a sense of belonging to them. Wu Yan was just about to introduce Silica to the moonlit black cats when Wu Yan looked at Asuna and he asked her. Have you thought about which floor you want the house to be on? Oh, I've already thought about it. Asuna raised the corner of her mouth. She looked very happy. The 61st floor, Selmbrook, has a very beautiful coast. The environment is beautiful and the place is very spacious. I want to move there, 61st floor. Wu Yan was surprised. The houses there aren't cheap, right? The price of houses in SAO mainly depends on the number of floors. The higher the floor, the more expensive the house is. Of course. There are also factors like the size of the house, the environment, and so on. However, it's undeniable that the higher floors are more expensive than the lower floors. Aincrad has a total of 100 floors. Every 25 floors is different from the previous floors. The first floor, the 25th floor, the 50th floor, and the 100th floor are all very different from the previous floors. The monsters in the field, the monsters in the labyrinth, the bosses in the field, and the boss in the field will have a qualitative change. Even the price of the house will increase exponentially. The 61st floor is an area that's higher than the 50th floor. The price of the house should be extremely expensive as well. I've asked around. It'll cost about 4 million COR, including the furnishings and decorations. It's a bit expensive, but it's not unacceptable. Asuna said casually. She didn't care about the 4 million core. Instead, she looked like it was worth it. 4 million COR. Silica was speechless. For someone like her who was only active on the 35th floor not long ago, that's a sky-high price, 4 million COR? Wu Yan rubbed his chin and said something surprising. It's not that expensive. Should I buy a house there and live there when I have the time? You bought a house for 4 million COR and you only live there when you have the time? Asuna's eyebrows twitched. How much money do you have? Well, I have a little. Wu Yan said casually as if he didn't have much money. Only he knows how much more money he has compared to the average player. He's always been on the front lines, grinding in the field or the labyrinth. He's never killed any monsters in the field. In terms of wealth, not counting the equipment, items, materials, etc., Wu Yan has at least 8 digits in corner coins if he doesn't have 9 digits in corner coins. To put it bluntly, Wu Yan's COR could be used to build a guild that's as strong as any other guild in the clearers. Of course, that's only in terms of money, he can't guarantee his combat power. Silica, who was listening to the conversation between the two, felt that they were not in the same dimension as her. She turned to Asuna and said, Sister Asuna, when your house is ready, can I go and take a look? Sure. Of course. You're always welcome. Asuna agreed without hesitation. Silica smiled happily. The two logged into each other's friend list and started chatting happily. Wu Yan's heart twitched as he sighed again. The way girls communicate isn't something a man like him can understand. Even though the atmosphere was a bit stiff before, while chatting, the three of them ate the dishes on the table. Wu Yan's cooking is very appetizing. Even Asuna, who is an expert in cooking, fell in love with his cooking, let alone Silica who is trying it for the first time. Asuna glanced at the food on the table and sighed. These dishes should be made with rare ingredients, right? I really don't know how you got so many rare ingredients. Well, maybe my drop rate was maliciously modified. Wu Yan joked, these are the ingredients I usually get the most, is that so? Asuna rolled her eyes and smiled as if she had thought of something. Since then, whenever she has time, Asuna will come to Wu Yan's house to ask for ingredients. If you like this work, you're welcome to vote for it. Your support is my biggest motivation. Mobile users, please go here to read. Wonderful brush pavilion, no pop-up window, quick update, remember. Chapter 671. Aincrad's 48th floor, Linda's. There's a small hut in the corner of Linda's floor. There's a pool outside the hut and a water wheel that's slowly rotating by the side of the pool. This was a weapon shop, and it was quite famous. Normally, you wouldn't be able to tell how many people there were inside, but the higher-level players, or those who knew of the existence of this weapon shop, would come here. This was because they knew how many tricks the owner of this weapon shop on the 48th floor had up his sleeves. In one of the inner rooms of the shop, a tall girl with short pink hair is standing on the edge of a blacksmith's table. She's holding a hammer in her hand. She's hammering it up and down with a serious look on her face. There's a piece of metal on the table that's constantly changing shape under the hammering of the hammer. It's expanding outwards as if it's about to be shaped. Ding! 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 The crisp rhythmic hammering sounds echoed in the small room like a beautiful song. There's not much fluctuation between the syllables, but it's very rhythmic. Even if someone who knows music came here, they'd still be immersed in the monotonous yet beautiful rhythm. Not long after, the metal that was emitting a fiery glow gradually elongated under the hammering of the hammer. Then, a long sharp metal strip appeared on the blacksmith table. Looking at this scene, it was not difficult to guess that this was a sword. The girl's eyes lit up when she saw the change in the piece of metal, but her expression didn't change at all. Her hands didn't change at all. She's still hammering the piece of metal with a perfect rhythm. The shape of the piece of metal is more complete and the edges are more delicate. It's not hard to imagine what a sword like this will look like once it's out of the furnace. It's going to be a masterpiece. It's a shame that the heavens seem to be against this girl. Just as she was about to succeed, the door to the inner room was suddenly pushed open. A loud voice with a hint of dissatisfaction rang out. "Hey! Liz!" The sudden shout caused Liz to panic. Her hand trembled uncontrollably, and with this tremble, the hammer in her hand landed heavily on the edge of the iron plate, mercilessly smashing the red iron plate into two halves. Huh! Huh! Liz was stunned. She stared at the piece of metal that was broken in half on the blacksmith's table. Her eyes widened in shock. Then, ah! A sharp scream sounded like a bomb going off. The entire room seemed to distort a couple of times due to the shriek. The culprit who caused all this didn't even know what good deed he had done. His face turned pale, his head shook, and his eyes started to draw circles. After a long while, the screams finally stopped. Standing by the door, the person who was bombarded by stars finally heaved a sigh of relief. She panted heavily, shook her dizzy head, and looked at the owner of the voice with lingering fear, Liz. Then, he saw Liz holding two pieces of metal with tears in her eyes as if she had just lost her parents. Her eyes were filled with sorrow, and if it weren't for the fact that there were no tear stains on her cheeks, he would have thought that she had just cried. Seeing this, the culprit instantly understood why Liz screamed. He froze on the spot and couldn't get up. It was not until the two iron plates in Liz's hands shattered into pieces that both of them reacted at the same time. Liz lowered her head. The background was dark and her face was gloomy. Then, she turned to the door abruptly and found the culprit. Tong! Human! Liz's demon-like roar entered Kirito's ears. Kirito couldn't help but take 2 steps back. His heart was beating so fast that it almost jumped out of his chest. Yo, yo. Liz. Kirito forced a smile. He raised his hand stiffly to greet her. I saw no one in the shop. I called out to you for a long time but you didn't respond. That's why, Liz gnashed her teeth as she glared at Kirito. The sound of grinding teeth coming from her mouth made the fearless Kirito's heart skip a beat, making him uneasy. Liz took a few deep breaths and looked at the hammer in her hand. She wanted to cry but no tears came out. She had planned this for a very long time. She had adjusted herself to her best condition as soon as she received the medal. She had also temporarily closed the shop and even blocked the notification that someone had entered the shop. Who knew that in the end, she would still fail at the last minute? Liz, shut up. Kirito immediately shut his mouth and gulped. As the saying goes, you won't die if you don't ask for it. Kirito asked for it. Well, it's not that big of a deal. The metal doesn't look that rare. The weapon won't be that good, what did you say? Liz's anger rose. She walked up to Kirito and grabbed him by the collar. Do you know how much preparation I've done for this forging? It's not that high quality. I spent a lot of money to buy that metal. The weapon will be the best in the shop. How dare you say it's not that big of a deal? Is that so? Kirito looked at Liz's angry face. Cold sweat dripped down his forehead, but he still stubbornly said, who knows if your so-called best in the shop won't be as good as my sword. Liz choked and shifted her gaze to Kirito's back. There's a black sword with a black hilt and a black gauntlet. It's shaped like a cross, and there's a black sheen on the gauntlet. Even though it's still in its scabbard, one can still tell that it's no ordinary sword. It's the black sword, Elucidator. It's a super monster weapon that can be dropped by monsters. It's definitely one of the best one-handed swords in SAO. Liz's face darkened. Ever since she met Kirito, Kirito always let Liz handle his weapons. She's handled Elucidator many times. That's why Liz knows what kind of performance this seemingly inconspicuous black one-handed sword has. No matter how confident Liz is, she can't say for sure that the weapon she just made is better than Elucidator. After all, the metal is rare but it's not that valuable. Still, Liz was unwilling to give up. Don't get carried away. Liz yanked Kirito's collar and shouted, I just don't have the materials. If I had the materials, your Elucidator would be nothing to me. Oh? Is that so? Kirito glanced at Liz suspiciously, which infuriated Liz. If that's the case. Kirito sighed and his expression turned serious. You can do what I asked of you, right? Humph. Liz snorted and turned her head away with disdain, but she still replied, my forging skills have improved a lot. If you don't have a problem with the performance, I can make it as soon as I have the materials. That's great, Kirito let out a sigh of relief and he grinned. To fulfill his bet with Wu Yan, he visited Liz's shop many times. Of course, Kirito's weapon got himself an excellent grinder because of this. Then, where do I get the materials? There's a metal on the 55th floor that's perfect for it, 55th floor? I got it. Wait. Take me with you. Wondrous Brush Pavilion, no pop-up window, quick update, remember. Chapter 672. Now that the problem with the weapon was solved, Kirito felt energized. He walked with more vigor as if he was in a state of excitement. It's not that he cared about the weapon, it's just that Kirito didn't like to owe anyone anything. His bet with Wu Yan was delayed because of Liz's forging skill. Now that it's finally over, Kirito can only hope that he can repay the debt as soon as possible. What would Kirito think if he knew that he was the one who needed this weapon in the original work, and he was also the one who had the skill, dual sword flow? He'd probably feel very lucky. After all, Kirito doesn't want to be in the limelight. He's a solo player and a beta tester. If he has a dual sword style, he'll become a target for everyone. That's why Kirito didn't use dual sword style in the original work until he had no choice but to use it when he was facing the final boss alone. Compared to Kirito, Wu Yan is much more direct. He didn't intend to hide his skills. His title as the Fey swordsman has brought him enough trouble. Plus, he's much stronger than Kirito, he can handle any situation. Thus, there's no need for him to hide his dual sword stream. Kirito and Liz opened the door and walked out of the room. At the same time, a beautiful figure walked into the room. Both Kirito and Liz stopped. Asuna. Liz tilted her head and smiled. You're here too. Huh? Asuna turned around and was surprised to see Kirito standing next to Liz. Why are you here too? I have something to do. Kirito scratched his cheek and smiled awkwardly. Kirito didn't interact with Asuna in private other than when they were clearing the dungeon. Even when they were clearing the dungeon, they often quarreled. Although their relationship has improved a lot due to Asuna's sudden change, Kirito still wasn't used to it. On the other hand, Liz patted Kirito's shoulder without hesitation. This guy is now my regular customer. Oh. Is that so? Asuna narrowed her eyes and looked at the two with interest. She then looked at Kirito. When you asked me for Liz's contact number, I was wondering what happened between the two of you. I didn't expect you to be so close. It's all because of this guy. Liz glanced at Kirito with dissatisfaction. Urging me to forge a weapon for him every day, I really don't understand. He already had such a powerful weapon, so why would he want to forge another one? Kirito smiled awkwardly and kept his mouth shut. He didn't want to tell Liz that he owed her a bet. That's why Liz thought he was the one who wanted the weapon. Asuna, on the other hand, was surprised. She more or less knew about the bet between Wu Yan and Kirito. She also knew that the weapon Kirito wanted was what Wu Yan wanted. Speaking of which, Wu Yan was the one who asked Kirito to get Liz's contact number. That's why Asuna blackmailed Wu Yan and even went to his house to ask for food. In a way, it's all thanks to Kirito, that snitch. She remembered that the weapon Liz was going to forge was what Wu Yan wanted. Asuna's interest was piqued. So, what about the weapon? We're still missing materials. Liz pouted. We need to go to the 55th floor to get the metal, 55th floor. Asuna blinked and looked at Kirito. That shouldn't be too hard for you, right? It shouldn't be hard. Kirito took a deep breath. But it might be a little difficult now. What do you mean? Liz immediately turned around and looked at Kirito with her arms akimbo. Are you saying that I'm in your way? No. I didn't mean that. Kirito's eyes darted around and he didn't look at Liz anymore. He was clearly telling Liz that he didn't mean what he said. You, wait. Asuna interrupted Liz and asked in surprise, Liz, you're going as well? Yeah. Liz said as if it was a matter of course. We need a blacksmith master to get the metal. Otherwise, even if we defeat that metal-producing dragon, we won't be able to get the metal. Is that so? Asuna nodded and raised her weapon with a regretful expression. I wanted to ask Liz to help me grind my weapon. Its durability is almost gone, then I'll help you grind your weapon first. Liz didn't hesitate and put her friend's matter first. She looked at Kirito and said in a threatening tone, it won't take long, you can afford to wait, right? Kirito-kun. Kirito's mouth twitched and he nodded helplessly. Asuna and Liz laughed when they saw this. The two of them left Kirito behind and ran to the back of the shop. Kirito was left alone in the shop while the two of them chatted with each other. You only need to grind it a little to restore its durability. Liz took Asuna's sword and smiled. Do you need me to upgrade your weapon? My forging skill has improved recently and it just so happens to meet the requirements for upgrading a weapon of your level. Asuna pondered for a moment and shook her head. I don't think so. My weapon just so happens to meet my current needs. If you upgrade it, it'll affect my performance. All right then. Liz said in disappointment, it's rare for my forging skill to improve. Well, don't be disappointed. Asuna pulled Liz's hand and said, also, I don't just need to restore its durability. Can you help me polish it a little and make it prettier, huh? Polish it a little and make it prettier? Liz was stunned and looked at Asuna strangely. This is the first time she's been asked to make a weapon prettier while she's doing maintenance, but this was only secondary. Everyone loved beauty, and it wasn't strange for a girl to have such a request, but it was a bit strange for Asuna to have such a request. In the past, Asuna didn't care about looking pretty when she's choosing weapons and equipment. She's more of a practical person. After all, she's the one in charge of the clearers and is known as the ghost of clearers. The Asuna Liz knew was the kind of person who only cared about clearers. But now that she thought about it, Asuna seems to be different from before. Liz had her suspicions a while ago. Even though Asuna is loud and casual, she's more observant than anyone else. Liz's sharp senses told her that Asuna seems to be more feminine than before. Also, his eyes landed on Asuna's ears. There was a pair of beautiful earrings dangling there. Even in the dark, they still shone with a dazzling luster. Paired with Asuna's breathtakingly beautiful face, her charm was at least several levels higher than before. Asuna actually started to dress up. Asuna, tell me the truth. Liz had a smirk on her face, but her eyes were very serious. Are you in love? Huh? Asuna froze for a second, then her face turned red when she realized what Liz said. No. How is that possible? Asuna took 2 steps back and her eyes became flustered. Liz immediately understood what's going on when she saw Asuna's reaction. Liz giggled and didn't say anything else. She looked at Asuna with a teasing gaze and started to grind Asuna's weapon. Asuna stood there and bashfully stood there. It didn't take long for Asuna's weapon to be finished. Liz said goodbye to Asuna and then dragged Kirito out of the shop. Asuna angrily turned her head when she saw Liz and Kirito walking out of the shop. She rolled her eyes and smirked. She opened her personal interface and sent out an email, emergency. Come here immediately. Wonderful brush pavilion, no pop-up window, quick update, remember. Chapter 673. So, Wu Yan watched as Kirito and Liz bickered with each other. He glanced at Asuna who was lying on top of him with an expressionless face. So your so-called emergency is asking me to be a peeping Tom with you? Asuna's face turned red, and she immediately retorted, how is this peeping? It's stalking. That's just as bad. Wu Yan glared at Asuna. I really have to hand it to you. I was so scared that I didn't even have time to kill the few monsters with low HP before I hurriedly ran out of the labyrinth. I thought you really had something urgent to deal with, but it turns out that you're here to follow me? It's not like you're short on leveling time anyway, why are you being so calculative? Asuna muttered. Besides, it's an emergency, it's about my best friend's lifelong happiness. Lifelong happiness? Resisting the urge to roll his eyes, Wu Yan ridiculed her. I don't see how this can be called lifelong happiness. Isn't it just going to fetch some metal? You don't understand. Asuna peeked her head out and glanced at Kirito and Liz in front of her. Don't you think there's something wrong with the way they look? Wu Yan spent an entire minute sizing up Kirito and Liz. After a full minute, Wu Yan finally opened his mouth. I really don't see anything wrong with them. Are you an idiot? Asuna said as she pointed her finger to the front. Don't you think there's something going on between them? Wu Yan frowned and said hesitantly. You mean, they're hooking up? Don't make it sound so bad. Asuna said in a dissatisfied tone. Are you serious? Wu Yan rubbed his chin with a puzzled expression. That's Kirito we're talking about. He only cares about the game. Would he really fall in love with someone like that? That's why I said you don't understand. Asuna pointed her finger at Kirito. Anyone who's observant can see the trend, ahaha. Wu Yan smiled awkwardly. Then I guess I'm not that observant. I'm curious how you figured it out, intuition. Huh? Wu Yan almost choked himself to death. Say that again, I didn't hear you clearly. Don't underestimate a woman's intuition. Asuna said with a serious expression. Even if they're not doing anything right now, something is going to happen soon. Wu Yan sucked in a deep breath. His lips trembled as he closed them. In the end, all the words he wanted to say were summed up in one sentence. They're getting further away. Asuna patted Wu Yan's back and she nudged him a little further away from the group. Hurry up and follow them. Don't follow them too closely, Kirito's detection skill is really high, be careful not to get caught. I know. Hurry up and follow them. Asuna's tone didn't show the slightest bit of concern. Instead, there was a hint of indignation. She blurted out without thinking. We must catch them red-handed, let's see if Liz still dares to make fun of me. Wu Yan stopped and he turned around to face Asuna with a confused look. What red-handed? What do you mean? Asuna was shocked, only then did she realize what she had just said. After panicking for a moment, he quickly pretended to be calm and changed the topic. It's nothing, hurry up and follow them. That's suspicious, okay. Hurry up. Huh. In front of them, Kirito seemed to have sensed something. He abruptly turned his head and looked behind him. His eyes suddenly became sharp, which gave Liz a fright. What are you doing, all of a sudden? Liz tightened the clothes she just took from Kirito and patted her chest. She questioned. Kirito furrowed his brows and scanned the path behind them. However, all he could see were the same snowflakes and rocky mountains. There was nothing else in sight. Hey, say something. Liz's dissatisfied face appeared in front of Kirito. Finally, Kirito's attention was diverted from the scene behind them. Kirito glanced at Liz, then looked around. Only when he confirmed that he had not discovered anything, did he touch his chin. No, it's nothing, it's probably just my imagination. Kirito continued leading Liz to the top of the mountain. They left a trail of footprints in the snow behind them. When the two figures had almost disappeared into the snow and wind, two other figures staggered out from a corner. I told you, don't be so hasty, we'll be found out. Wu Yan glared at Asuna with a resentful look. That guy has been a solo player for so long, he's a monster. If he's not strong enough, he would have died already. Luckily, it's us. If it was someone else, they wouldn't be able to hide. But we haven't been found out yet. Asuna's expression was a little unnatural. If you look closely, you'll see a slight blush on her face. In order to not be found out, the two of them squeezed into a crack in the mountain. The crack could only fit one person at a time. Now that they were both in it, Asuna was almost squeezed into Wu Yan's body. Luckily, the situation was urgent and they didn't pay attention to anything else, or else, Asuna and Wu Yan started to feel uncomfortable. To prevent the atmosphere from getting too awkward, Wu Yan said. This time, we need to stay a little farther away. Don't rush, we won't have an excuse if we get found out. Oh. Asuna reacted and raised an eyebrow. She looked at Wu Yan. Why do I feel like you're very good at this kind of thing? Stalking and whatnot, of course not. I'm a righteous person. Wu Yan said with a straight face. Asuna gave up trying to find a loophole in his words. At that moment, the two of them once again sneakily followed after him. They didn't know how much time had passed, but the two groups finally arrived at the top of the mountain. In front of them, the wind and snow stopped, revealing the gloomy sky. Under everyone's gaze, crystals of different shapes and sizes were erected around the mountain. They looked like trees, forming a forest of crystals. They provided light in the dim environment so they could see what was going on. At the highest point, at the very end, there was a crystal mountain that was 5 or 6 meters tall. It was like a crystal fortress, and it emitted a pressure that made it difficult to breathe, telling others that it was not ordinary. Seeing this, Kirito's expression became serious. He didn't turn around and said to Liz. Hide behind me and don't come out. What? Liz's expression became extremely dissatisfied. She said without thinking. I'm not a newbie, at least let me help. Kirito didn't say anything, he just stared at Liz's face. His gaze was calm, but it was filled with the desire to make Liz unable to refute. It didn't take long for Liz to give in. I got it, Kirito smiled and threw a square crystal that emitted blue starlight to Liz. He then patted her head. Here's the teleportation crystal. You have to be ready at all times. If anything goes wrong, just teleport when I tell you to. Before that, just stay behind me. Liz lowered her head and felt Kirito's hand caressing her head. She could feel the warmth of his hand. She clutched the crystal tightly. Her heart was fluttering. Perhaps, Asuna's intuition wasn't completely random after all. If you like this novel, you're welcome to vote for it. Your support is my biggest motivation. Mobile users, please go here. Wondrous Brush Pavilion, no pop-ups, quick update, remember. Chapter 674. In this world where there are only swords and cold weapons, the only thing that can be related to mystery is the magical crystal items. SAO's crystals have a series of magical effects. Each of them has their own uses and they are categorized according to their color. Blue crystals are teleportation crystals, pink crystals can restore HP, green crystals are detoxification crystals, and so on. Every type of crystal was a convenient tool that took immediate effect. With a single command, they could produce miraculous effects. For example, the transfer crystal could allow players to instantly teleport to every town on a floor they had cleared. The recovery crystal could replenish the remaining 1 HP of a player. Its effects were much, much better than ordinary tools. But because of this, the price of crystal items was quite expensive. In the early stages of the game, the players hadn't developed and crystal items weren't that expensive. But now, the price of crystal items had reached a level that ordinary players couldn't afford. Last time, when Silver Flag's guild leader asked Wu Yan and Kirito to send the Titan's hand to the prison, the guild leader used all of his money to buy the corridor crystal that allows him to freely set the location of the Titan's hand to the Black Iron Palace. One can imagine how expensive crystal items are. Therefore, when it came to recovering HP, players would usually use potions that were much cheaper. Crystal items have become a life-saving item that players don't want to use unless it's absolutely necessary. But now, for Liz's safety, Kirito casually tossed out a teleportation crystal. It's not that Liz doesn't have a teleportation crystal, but she felt like the one in her hand is much heavier and warmer than hers. What Liz didn't know is that in Kirito's heart, his companions are much more important than the cold crystal. Even if it were someone else, Kirito wouldn't be stingy with the crystal. Although the teleportation crystal is expensive, Kirito is a top player who walks alone on the front line. With his wealth, I can afford 1 or 2 crystals. Of course. Not all crystals had miraculous effects. Only crystal props had miraculous effects. As for the crystals that were scattered all over the place, they were just a common material that could be seen everywhere. Even if they look good, they can only be used to forge weapons, and they're cheap. The crystals scattered all over the place dimmed a little when Kirito stepped forward. The surrounding light also dimmed a lot. An oppressive atmosphere reverberated in the air as if something is about to appear. Behind Kirito, Liz's heart skipped a beat. Roar! Suddenly, a deafening dragon's roar resounded in the dark sky, and it quickly spread in all directions. Kirito, who was about to step forward, stopped in his tracks. Liz was even more frightened. She screamed and hid behind a nearby crystal by reflex. The tall crystal mountain in front of her began to tremble. Along with it, the ground began to tremble as though there was an earthquake. Caught off guard, Liz fell on the crystal. If she didn't grab the crystal in time, she would have fallen to the ground. Kirito, on the other hand, was the only one who stood still. His eyes were fixed on the crystal mountain in front of him. He unsheathed a elucidator from its scabbard and pointed it diagonally at the ground. Asuna was also standing not too far away from them. Asuna unsheathed her rapier and her chestnut-colored eyes flashed. Asuna looked at Wu Yan, who had a nonchalant look on his face. "Let's go up there, shall we?" "Go up there." Wu Yan rolled his eyes and crossed his arms in front of his chest. "Why go up there? It's just an elite monster." With Kirito's strength, he can take care of an elite monster on the 55th floor in a matter of minutes. If you go up there, you won't be able to explain why you're here. Asuna gripped the hilt of her rapier. Her expression changed slightly. After a while, she finally calmed down. However, she didn't put away her rapier. Instead, she stared at the mountain in front of her. She'll rush over if anything goes wrong. Wu Yan shook his head and didn't say anything. Asuna's too worried. Accidents happen every year, but Liz isn't a newbie. She's no match for Kirito in terms of strength. Still, she doesn't need to worry that much. Kirito is here anyway. Wu Yan finally remembered that Kirito and Liz went to the 55th floor to retrieve a medal. It also happened in the original work. Because of that, Liz developed feelings for Kirito. In other words, Liz is about to be taken down. Wu Yan didn't want to ruin Kirito's romance. The best way to deal with this is to let nature take its course. Plus, he can watch a good show. Why not? Bang! With a loud explosion, the crystal mountain shattered and turned into a mist. At the same time, a bright silver western dragon with crystal spikes on its back emerged from the mist. A pair of thin yet huge flesh wings flapped fiercely, blowing the surrounding fog apart and scattering it. The crystal dragon's full appearance was also exposed in front of everyone's eyes. Its short but powerful limbs propped itself up from the ground. With just 2 legs, the crystal dragon stood up, waving its dragon claws. Its pair of huge eyes flashed with a red light. The dragon's head swung forward, and the dragon's mouth was wide open. Roar! With a roar, the crystal dragon flapped its wings and flew into the air. A gust of wind blew at Kirito's leather coat. As it flew into the air, the crystal dragon's mouth glowed faintly, and a dense stream of air came out of its mouth. Liz was shocked and yelled at Kirito. Careful! It's dragon breath. Special attack skill, dragon breath. A fiery blast of air shot out of the crystal dragon's mouth and swept toward Kirito. The air in its path seemed to have become a little hotter. It was enough to send chills down one's spine. Kirito's expression didn't change. He raised his elucidator and the sword in his hand flashed with the light of the skill. Bang! The dragon breath was sliced in half at the waist in front of Kirito, and it scattered into a shockwave that filled the sky. Liz's expression froze. The warhammer that she had just taken out froze in her hand. She froze on the spot. Liz was at a loss for words as she gazed at the figure that seemed abnormally small compared to the crystal dragon, but seemed as if it could support the heavens. Although Liz knew that Kirito wasn't an ordinary person due to his elucidator, she had never seen Kirito in action before. She didn't know how strong Kirito was. In the past, she thought that Kirito was just an ordinary clearers, but the strength he showed just now was beyond that of ordinary clearers. So, he's this strong. Liz could only watch as Kirito fearlessly charged at the crystal dragon. The elucidator in his hand glowed with the light of skills as he violently struck the crystal dragon's body. The crystal dragon, which was still majestic just a moment ago, was hit repeatedly by Kirito's tiny figure. Its HP dropped like crazy, and one of its claws was dismembered by him. Liz breathed a sigh of relief and walked out from behind the crystal dragon with a victorious smile on her face. What are you doing? Hurry up and finish it. Seeing this, Kirito, who was fighting the crystal dragon, was shocked. Idiot. You can't come out yet. Unfortunately, it was too late. The crystal dragon immediately noticed Liz, and as Liz screamed, it sent her flying with a slap. Liz. Kirito flew toward Liz and caught her in his arms. But he couldn't do anything in the air. Below them was a bottomless hole. Then, the two of them fell into the hole. Wondrous Brush Pavilion, no pop-up window, quick update, remember. Chapter 675. Liz. Asuna screamed from afar as she watched Kirito fall into the hole with Liz in his arms. She turned into a streak of light and dashed forward. When Wu Yan tried to stop her, Asuna was already at the edge of the hole. Liz! Asuna leaned on the edge of the pit and screamed at the top of her lungs. The only response she got was the echo of her own voice, and the echo of Liz's scream echoed in the air. In mid-air, the crystal dragon looked down at Asuna. Its eyes suddenly lit up, and it flapped its wings, intending to dive down and give Asuna a head-on attack. However, a figure suddenly appeared behind Asuna and stood there quietly. A pair of wine-red eyes stared at the crystal dragon, causing it to immediately stop its dive. Roar! The crystal dragon roared at Wu Yan and stopped attacking. It shook its head a few times as if it's considering its options. Then, it turned around and flew away without looking back. Wu Yan stared at the crystal dragon until it disappeared from his sight. He looked at Asuna, who was lying on the edge of the crater. He walked over to her and he placed his hand on her shoulder. Don't worry, Kirito is here. Liz will be fine, how dare you? Asuna's eyes were filled with tears. She turned around and glared at Wu Yan. You should have come to help in the morning. Now Liz fell into the hole. Even if she's fine, how are they going to get out? Hey, calm down. Wu Yan tightened his grip on Asuna's shoulder and said helplessly. Kirito is a solo player, he's faced countless traps. There are even life-threatening ones. This small hole won't be a problem for him. Even if it's a crystal nullified zone, he'll find a way to get out. Asuna looked at Wu Yan and then at the bottomless pit. She didn't look any less worried about Wu Yan. But, okay. Wu Yan bitterly smiled as he pulled Asuna up from the ground. Even if you don't believe in Kirito's abilities, shouldn't you at least believe in me? Asuna was furious when she heard this. You're the most untrustworthy, if you didn't stop it. Liz wouldn't have fallen, I wonder how she's doing now. Wu Yan waved his hand. Fine, even if you don't believe me, you should at least believe in SAO's display system, right? Aren't you friends with Liz? Wouldn't it be easier to check if Liz's name was still on his friend list to see if she was doing well? Asuna froze for a moment, then quickly opened her friend list. He quickly dragged it twice on the surface. She heaved a sigh of relief when she saw Liz's name. Wu Yan smiled and said to Asuna, You're too worried. It's just a trap, they can deal with it. Asuna nodded and shifted her gaze to the deep pit. Judging by the speed of the echo, this trap should be very deep. Liz would be in danger if she fell into it with her low HP, Kirito should be the one protecting her. Let's hope he can bring Liz out. We can at least be sure that it's a crystal-free zone. Wu Yan calmly said, otherwise, they wouldn't have stayed there for so long, unless there's another world inside, then what should we do? Asuna pursed her lips and said worriedly, if it's a crystal-free zone, does that mean they'll never be able to get out? Don't jump to conclusions. Wu Yan knocked on Asuna's head, causing her to yelp in pain. Let's hope for the best, let's just pray. Wu Yan wanted to tell Asuna that Kirito will come out with Liz tomorrow. But, he wouldn't be able to explain himself if he told her that. He could only apologize to her in his heart. Can't we do something? Asuna said unwillingly, maybe they're waiting for us to save them, then what do you want? Do you want to jump in and accompany them? Wu Yan rolled his eyes and he looked around. He walked towards a direction and sat down on a crystal. Let's wait and see, maybe Kirito is thinking of a way. I don't understand how you can be so calm. Asuna stomped her foot in frustration. She hesitated for a moment before walking towards Wu Yan. Asuna adjusted her skirt and she sat down beside Wu Yan. The two leaned against the crystal as they stared at the crater in the distance. They were waiting for the two figures to show up. One has to say, Wu Yan's location is pretty good. There's a crystal behind him that he can lean on. There's also some twisted crystals that cover the top of his head. Like a roof, they blocked all the snowflakes. The cold wind blew from the sides but couldn't reach inside. It's like a crystal cave. It's already quite late when they arrived here. Now that the sky is completely dark, there's no other sound other than the sound of the wind. Wu Yan took out a prop lamp and lit it up so that the place wouldn't be too dark. Snowflakes were the only things moving in front of them. Snow whistled as it fell from the sky. Although the wind was blowing, the air was strangely still. In such an environment, one's mood could not help but become heavy, especially those who were easily sentimental, such as, hey. Asuna crossed her arms and looked at the scene outside. She couldn't help but speak. Say, how are our bodies in the real world right now? Wu Yan, who was looking at the items in his inventory, paused for a second, then he continued looking as if nothing happened. If it's you, you're probably in a hospital. After all, the people outside wouldn't leave those trapped in Sao alone. I thought so. Asuna muttered, then she looked at Wu Yan. You're saying you're not in a hospital? That's right, Wu Yan can only say that in his mind. Even if he said it out loud, Asuna wouldn't believe him. After all, their bodies in the real world don't know how to eat. If they don't receive nutrition from the hospital, everyone here will starve to death. Even though Wu Yan is a true ancestor and can't die, Asuna won't believe him. Probably. Wu Yan could only say so. It's incredible. Asuna said softly, her expression became complicated. Our bodies are supposed to be lying down, but we're actually living in this world. I don't want to admit it. Asuna raised her head and looked at Wu Yan with an indescribable expression. Even I'm starting to get used to this world. Well, it doesn't matter to me. Wu Yan said casually, it doesn't matter which world we're in, the most important thing is to be alive. Life without effort is meaningless, life without enjoyment is boring, only by working hard and enjoying life can we be truly alive, truly, alive. Asuna lowered her head and pondered for a moment. Then, she smiled. Why do you sound so convincing every time you say it? Is that so? Wu Yan scratched his head and said in a resentful tone. I feel like I'm the worst at shooting my mouth off. Compared to saying nice things, I prefer to express my thoughts. Maybe it's because I'm speaking from the bottom of my heart that you find it persuasive, right? Asuna smiled and stared at Wu Yan's face with her chestnut-colored eyes. After a while, she said, actually, I've been wondering what kind of life you lived after you passed the first floor. Oh? Wu Yan's interest was piqued. Then what's your conclusion? Asuna leaned on the crystal and said in an ethereal voice. You're even more charming than I thought. You, wonderful brush pavilion, no pop-up window, quick update, remember. Chapter 676. Mesmerizing, Wu Yan's lips started twitching when he saw Asuna's expression. He had an awkward expression. Are you sure it's appropriate for you to say that? Being called mesmerizing by the most mesmerizing female player in Sao, and she's a woman while he's a man, it's awkward no matter how you look at it. You should feel honored. Asuna glanced at Wu Yan. I've never casually commented on a person before. Wu Yan's expression became even more awkward when he heard Asuna's words. So you're the one who casually commented on me, well, don't mind it. Asuna patted Wu Yan's shoulder with a smile. At least your life is much more interesting than mine, is that so? Wu Yan pouted and turned his head away. In other people's eyes, our shining Asuna is extraordinary. She's the idol of millions of players. She's beautiful and strong. Many people are envious of your life. You're hardworking and full of charm, is that so? Asuna sighed and looked at the sky. I hope they won't be disappointed in the future. In Asuna's eyes, her life isn't exciting at all. Every day, it's just strategy, 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 and strategy. Perhaps in other people's eyes, Asuna is shining, but in Asuna's eyes, this kind of life is depressing. If possible, Asuna would rather live a peaceful life. She would cook her favorite dishes every day, take care of the house, and chat with her friends from time to time. She's the typical wife's goal. Of course, if Sao didn't turn into what it is now. Asuna also wants to play games with her friends when she's free. After all, Sao is a pretty good game world aside from the game's death law. Wu Yan yawned and he leaned against the crystal. The hard and cold feeling of the crystal made him feel very uncomfortable. He twisted his body a few times and he didn't feel too good about it. He couldn't find a comfortable position. What's the difference between this and sleeping on the floor? Wu Yan sighed helplessly. He started to look around until he accidentally saw Asuna's legs. His wine-red eyes suddenly lit up, and the corner of his mouth raised into a smile. Then, Wu Yan moved. Wu Yan turned around and laid down on the bed. While Asuna was stunned, Wu Yan rested his head on her thighs and closed his eyes. Without a doubt, it was the perfect pillow for him. You. Asuna's face turned from white to red, and then from red to even redder, and it didn't stop until her head was completely red. The color of blood had spread all the way to his neck, and steam was about to come out. What are you doing? Asuna shouted with a red face. Her eyes were filled with panic. She grabbed Wu Yan's head with both hands and tried to lift it up. Get up. Unfortunately, Asuna's strength was no match for Wu Yan's. Even with all her strength, she still couldn't lift Wu Yan's head. You should feel honored. Wu Yan grinned at Asuna. I've never slept on anyone's thighs before, WH. What? Asuna was furious. But she couldn't do anything about it. She had to admit that this guy is invincible when he acts shamelessly. No one can do anything to him, not even Asuna. Well, I'm just telling the truth. Wu Yan rubbed the thigh behind his head. The smoothness and comfort of the thigh made Asuna's face turn red. I've never slept on anyone's thighs before. Knee pillows. Wu Yan has a lot of girls around him, and almost all of them are beautiful. The number of his wives is almost in the single digits, and he has never stopped making love. But this kind of warm knee pillow has never been used on Hinajaku and the others. In other words, their relationship is developing too quickly. Sometimes, Wu Yan feels that his relationship with Hinajaku and the girls developed too quickly. That's why he missed out on a lot of interesting experiences. It's not that he didn't enjoy a warm life. He never lacked warmth with the girls. It's just that there are some things that he didn't experience before. It's a pity. Asuna is indeed the first girl to let Wu Yan sleep on her thighs. Although it was completely one-sided by Wu Yan. Asuna clenched her teeth when she heard Wu Yan's words. She was so embarrassed that her cheeks were about to bleed. But she didn't push Wu Yan anymore. She glanced at Wu Yan who was sleeping on her thighs and turned her head away in shock. She was a little angry. Sleeping on a girl's thighs for the first time? It's your first time, isn't it my first time too? Following this rippling scene, the deathly stillness in the air seemed to have disappeared. The surroundings were clearly pitch black, and it was still snowing outside. However, a wave of warmth rose in the hearts of the two, causing the surrounding atmosphere to have a trace of ambiguity, accompanied by a little bit of warmth. Asuna didn't say anything for a long time when she felt the solid body on her thighs. Her melancholy disappeared, and it was replaced by a faint panic. Asuna didn't dare to say anything, she didn't even dare to lower her head. She was afraid to look into those wine-red eyes that made her heart flutter. Wu Yan and Asuna didn't say anything as they waited inside the crystal. Wu Yan and Asuna didn't say anything, they just waited patiently for something to happen. After some time, Asuna's eyes started to drift away. The silence made her feel a little uncomfortable. Asuna mustered up her courage and slowly moved her eyes to the bottom of her body. But when she saw the scene in front of her, she was stunned. Wu Yan, who is lying on her knees, closed his eyes. His breathing is even and his chest is heaving up and down. His expression is calm and peaceful. It's obvious that he's asleep. Asuna stared blankly at the sleeping face in front of her, and after a long time, she burst out laughing. Come on, I was thinking so much while you fell asleep on your own. Asuna poked Wu Yan's cheeks in a displeased manner. Don't you think I'm stupid? Feeling itchy, Wu Yan furrowed his brows and he mumbled something. Asuna quickly pulled her hand back and she went back to sleep. She breathed out softly. Asuna looked at Wu Yan's face in a daze. She couldn't help but reach out her hand and touch Wu Yan's cheek. So there are people in this world who can make such an expression. Asuna murmured, her chestnut-colored eyes were fixed on Wu Yan's body. Why do you have such a comfortable expression? Asuna mocked. On the other hand, even when I'm sleeping, I'm worried that I'm going to die in the hands of some monster. I don't think there is anyone in this world who can sleep as comfortably as you do, right? Asuna kept talking to Wu Yan while he was sleeping. She said all the things that she didn't dare to say out loud: worry, uneasiness, sadness, lamentation. Unknowingly, everything that happened in Sao over the past 2 years was recounted by Asuna. Her soft voice echoed in the room. There was no one around. Asuna could only speak her mind at times like this. Memories began to surface in Asuna's mind as she spoke. She felt that the memories that she couldn't bear to look back on didn't seem as scary as they used to be when she was talking about them. What Asuna didn't know was that the moment she started talking, the man on her thighs started to breathe more heavily. Asuna didn't know how much time had passed. Maybe she was tired. She stopped talking. Her eyelids fluttered a few times, and finally, she couldn't hold back her sleepiness and fell asleep. Almost at the same time, Wu Yan opened his eyes. He gently sat up and let Asuna lean on his chest. He took out a coat and put it on both of them. You're tuning into the Carefree Valley YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.